And it's a much sadder start to the day today after the news, the very, very sad news yesterday that Her Majesty the Queen has died. And I know that and I'm sure all of you have been reflecting over the last evening and morning about our Queen's lifetime of service and what her loss means to us as a nation and for us as individuals too. And here at Sewing Street, we just want to acknowledge that and also to send our condolences to the royal family and to all of you, our Sewing Street family too, at a time which we are all, I know, finding difficult, and we'll all process it in our own way too. But we wanted to be together with you this morning and give you the option to join us here at Sewing Street. So if you're with us this morning, then do please get in touch with us at the studio in the normal way and share your thoughts today with us. Our condolences are very much with you, and of course the royal family as well. It's a difficult time, but together we're stronger. Okay, let's have a look at our menu today. Now, this morning we're going to start at 9 o'clock with the Hollywalk Handbag with Lucy Picksley, and we're going to have a real good look at how to make that bag and really sort of get some tips, some tricks and some real expert inside information. So stay with us for that. At 10 o'clock I'm going to have bag making supplies, and you know how much I love a bag. At 11 o'clock we've got So Pretty, So Mindful patterns with Lucy again, and we're going to have a really good look at a whole load of Lucy's patterns, and many of them for bags, and really sort of unpick what's suitable if you're a beginner, if you're intermediate, if you're more advanced. At 12 o'clock we're going to be having a roundup of some of our favourite kits, and we'll do some great savings there as well. But a morning full of demonstrations and hopefully some lovely chat as well, and we look forward to getting some messages from you as well. Now obviously we started at 9 o'clock today. The early bird is available on our website. We didn't want to do that live on air. We've already dropped the price. It is a 5-metre roll of Bondaweb. So if you want to pop onto the website and have a look at our early bird, then please do. All right, so this morning, let's get started. And I want to say a big good morning to you, Lucy.
Morning.
And welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's wonderful to see you. And our first show together.
It is, yeah.
I know John's always had you to himself before.
You have, yeah.
But it's good to spend the day with you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. All right, so this morning Lucy's going to be working on a particular bag of hers, a really beautiful smart bag, which she's going to show us how to make. And it's called the Hollywalk bag. I'll just show you that it is a gorgeous kind of take it anywhere bag, I think it's fair to say. Zip pockets on the outside. Always useful. It must have lots of pockets. So zip pockets on the outside, a magnetic flap at the top, and then inside a whole host of compartments and separators. Looking forward to learning how to make this part in particular. Love that in a bag. And also some slip pockets and a zip pocket too. So a really good opportunity this morning for us all to learn some new bag making skills. Now, if you'd like to get a kit to make one of those bags, we've got 4 different options available. And let me start with the one that Lucy's actually made, which is this gorgeous floral and denim version. I love the combination of floral and denim. There's something fresh, smart. It always looks kind of classic modern. Now, what we've got here is Liberty. This is a Liberty cotton print. And you've got 1/2 metre of that, which is really made into a feature on that central panel on the front and back of the bag. You've also got your gorgeous dark navy denim. You get 1/2 metre of that, and that's a 4 ounce. That's a 4 ounce, and then you also get 1/2 metre, I beg your pardon, a metre of the lining in this gorgeous cherry red. Beautiful. And then of course, all important pattern. This feels rather thick for a pattern. Lots of information in here. I always like that. Now you will need to add a few other bits and bobs to the bundle to make the bag. You might have some of them at home, you might need them from us. So I'll go through the notions that you'll need, or perhaps ask Lucy to as we get to her. All right, so that's our first bundle, the red and denim, gorgeous. Now our second version is this kind of mixture of a mid-toned blue, lovely kind of chambray blue, love that shade of denim. That's 1/2 metre. And then you're also getting your outer fabric. This is delicious, isn't it? That's Ruby Star Society. Love their prints. Lovely and modern, fresh. Look great in a bag. The scale is perfect for that front and back panel. And then you're also getting your lining. You get 1 metre of that. And that is in peach. I'm going to call it peach, Lucy.
I'm going to go coral.
Peachy coral.
Peachy coral.
Coral. All right. And then you're also getting the pattern as well. All right, so that's our second bundle. Now then, our third bundle is the silver grey. Let's do silver grey. So for this one, on the outside of the bag, replacing the denim, you have got this silver grey cotton canvas, which is rather lovely. And that's going to provide a nice robust outer. You've also got a print, 1/2 metre of print. Is this a Lewis and Irene? I'm going to have a little look. Bear with. No, it's called Wildwood by Nutex. It's very cute. I like that. Yeah, it's cute though, isn't it? And then you've also got your lining fabric, and you've got this silver grey to line your bag. And I love a light lining because you can really see what's in the bag, can't you? Plus your pattern, of course, from Lucy Picksley. Now then, our final version is the black. So you have your outer black. It's rather difficult against my sweater here, but you get your black cotton canvas for the outside, and then you're getting a solid black for your lining, 1 metre of that. And then you're also getting this fabulous Japanese style print for the outer. I think that's really smart.
It's my favourite.
Love
now.
that.
It's
That's
my
your
new
favourite. Yeah. That would go with anything.
The coral was my favourite until I made the red, but then I arrived today and the black became my favourite.
Yeah, that is lovely. And quite often these fabrics are navy, but this is a black and a sort of a tan as well. So yeah, really love that. Plus the pattern as well. So those are our 4 different kits. Now if you'd like to get the pattern on its own for the Hollywalk bag, you can. Details are coming up on screen. And in there you're getting all of your detailed instructions to make your outer, to make your lining, to do all the things like the zips and the internal pockets as well. You've also got all of your pattern pieces in there, so it's really thorough, and of course everything is full size. You're not having to scale anything up, which I think is a real boon. There are some lovely pictures on there too, and also one thing that I particularly like, and this is something that Lucy does in all of her patterns, is she includes a story about the inspiration behind the name of the bag, and also the sort of background, a little bit of personal history of her life and what she's been doing. So there is a tale to tell in the front of the pattern, which I think is a really lovely idea actually, and it might be something I have to start doing, because I do love to tell a tale as well. I'm just going to grab actually the bag. I've got 2 different versions here. I'll show you the red version first. So you've got this really smart webbing strap. You could make that out of fabric if you prefer, of course. And then there's your front profile with these 2 really smart zip pockets on the front. And those pockets are individual pockets rather than being joined up in the centre, so you can keep things separate on the front. And then back of the bag, you've just got that lovely smart clean panel. And then I really like this snap fastening. I think it's very smart, it's very chic, discreet. Lucy, there's a story to tell. There's a story to tell about the Hollywalk, isn't there?
There is.
Tell me the story. And why do you include a story?
Okay, so for any of you that have not met me before, thank you for coming today and tuning in. I do really, really appreciate it. I started designing patterns just earlier this month.
Oh.
I think this is my 4th time with Sewing Street.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I've obviously brought a lot of patterns since then, which has been remarkable. But a little bit about me, memory telling is incredibly important to me. It's important because I thought I hadn't really got any childhood memories. I remember having lots of conversations with my mum on the sofa saying, why can I remember so little from my past? And I found that a little bit sad, I suppose. And 4 years ago, I talked about this a little while ago, I had a bit of a breakdown. I stopped coping, and as part of my mechanism to healing, I did 2 things. One is to learn how to sashiko, and the second being I started journaling. And that journaling process became quite important to me as a therapy mechanism. And I still believe in it today, really. And I'm not talking about writing long passages, it could be a line or 2, it really doesn't matter. And as time went on, I started recording my thoughts and feelings, and I started a YouTube channel, which is still live and present today. So that'd be wonderful if you could head over there and have a little look. But when I started designing these bags in particular, I realised I needed to give them a name. And how do we name our patterns? And for me, it made sense to try and connect those names to memories, thoughts and feelings. So I felt like the bags almost generated their own name. So this one's Hollywalk bag, and it's based on feeling like it's more of a work bag. And what did that memory start telling me?
And as I tell me the story.
As I delved into my memories, this is where it all came. I'm going to read you only a little bit of the story, though. Is that all right,
yeah,
Stuart?
Of course.
And I'm sure we've got loads of time today to talk about many of these tales to tell. But I'm just going to read you a few lines from this little story. And you'll know, if you follow me, that they kind of follow on through a timeline. So bear with me, I'm 20 now. God, I wish. By the time I turned 20, I was back living in Warwickshire in a place called Whitnash with my then partner Graham. I'd moved in with him when he had graduated and got himself some fancy job in computer programming. I floated between jobs, starting at the body shop on the Parade before selling gym memberships at Northlands Fitness Centre, which I truly hated. A life in sales will never be for me. Finally, as I turned 21, I got what I would call my first proper job, which necessitated me to dress up for work and don a decent handbag. Each day I would walk down Hollywalk to my own fancy job at Vauxhall Master Hire Leasing.
I love that. So it was almost that sense of having to be a proper grown-up. I remember that feeling too, of feeling like a fraud going to work because I'm only a kid, really. I mean, I don't know, even when I was a child, I don't know that I necessarily felt like a child, but suddenly when I was an adult, I didn't feel like an adult either. And yeah, sometimes you have to just kind of put that bag on.
Well, it's the fake it till you make it, isn't it?
It is.
It's all about that body armour. Like if we put a suit on, it makes us feel like a little bit more powerful.
I think you're
right. And it's
right.
that kind of thing, isn't it?
I think you're right.
But
what is really lovely about the Hollywalk bag is that it's something that could be, well, it could be whatever you want it to be, couldn't it? Because this could be done in faux leather. It could be done with very smart metalware and detachable straps and a big kind of chunky metal lock on the front. And it would be a very smart sort of work handbag type thing. Or you can make it really pretty, soft, feminine, you know, pretty it up as well.
Stuart, if I had the time, I would absolutely make one of these in so many different ways to give you a feel, because I think you're dead right. I think even as a solid coloured bag on the outside, I think it'd be really quite beautiful. Yeah,
it is. It's gorgeous. It's a great size, a great shape, and of course it has all those lovely useful pockets. 2 zip pockets on the outside, snap fastening there, and then inside, let me just show you. It's always difficult, isn't it, to show inside a bag? And I always feel slightly awkward and difficult. It always brings back memories, you see, because Mum's handbag growing up was verboten. You never touched Mum's handbag. You certainly didn't go into Mum's handbag. And now as an adult, she'll occasionally say to me, oh, go in my bag and grab my purse. And I'm like, I can't. I just can't bring myself to do that. But it's memories, isn't it, from the past.
I was on campus this week as well, Stuart, because I work at university. Just to answer the question we all want to know, yes, my laptop does fit.
Oh, fantastic, great. So you've got that lovely big zip pocket in the back. So you've got a zip pocket right there. You see that one right there, which I love the fact that it's in that pretty floral. So whatever your feature fabric is in your kit, you'll have your pocket in that. Then you've got a denim slip pocket with a couple of different compartments here. Then you've got this really cleverly placed divider, firm divider that runs down the middle, because as much as I love a cavernous chuck anything in it bag, it is also rather nice to be able to put laptop or Kindle that side and papers and books and things like that the other side.
Stuart,
and you've created that divider.
No. Laptop and files on one side,
right.
Snacks, lunch, crisps on the other.
Okay, fair enough.
That's
You're speaking my language now. You're speaking my language. Now, Lucy, I did mention when I was talking through the kits that you do need a few other notions.
Yes.
What interfacings? Because this is sometimes the thing that can really throw a beginner bag maker. How do I get the lovely structure? How do I make it feel like a nice, proper, posh bag?
Yeah.
So what's inside?
Okay, on this bag, I've used Bosal. It is a single-sided fusible webbing. It's very thick, very spongy. You can get it in a number of ways, so you can have single-sided, double-sided. I think Stuart's going to show you the double in just a moment. Now, Bosal's very good at really making something feel quite sturdy. It will help a bag sit a little bit more when you pop it on the floor. It's probably not going to just sort of fall over quite as easily. If you don't want to try Bosal, then I would suggest you use the H640, which is still a fusible product, but just a little bit lighter. You will work with it just a tiny little bit easier under the needle, but having said that, neither are difficult to use.
No, they're easy sews, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got some in our form in front of me. You know, I love the fact that in our form has become like the product that we associate those, because it's such a hero product for so many of us. Bag makers, baskets, boxes, anything where you want structure, but it's soft and light as well, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You know, you sometimes make those bags that are so heavy and there's nothing in them, whereas your in our form provides lovely structure. Your bag will literally stand up for itself, but it doesn't have a great deal of weight. Very, very easy to sew. Do you do anything special when you're sewing within our form?
No,
Lucy?
what I might do later on in the process, probably not at the start when I'm working with single layers, but as I start bringing the bag together, if I were at home, I'm not going to do it today, so
fingers crossed.
I would pop on my walking foot just to give me some extra protection as I'm working around, but no, not at all.
I definitely do that when I'm top stitching. If I've used in our form to create a bag, I'll use my regular foot for all the construction, but when I do the top stitching, just because sometimes if you're sewing very thick layers, it can sometimes struggle just a little going through, and you can have uneven length of stitch, and of course on construction that's fine. It doesn't matter if some of your stitches are a bit shorter than others, but on top stitching you want them to be lovely and consistent.
Absolutely.
Don't you?
But in my cupboards, I have to say, I mean, my cupboards are probably a little bulging with fabric right now.
You're in good company, Lucy.
Absolutely, but it's all beautiful. But the thing that I cannot be without, even if I don't think I need it right now, I will always have at least a metre of inner form. I will always have interfacing. I will always have H640 in my cupboard.
If
they
you're
are
a bag maker,
products.
They're stash, aren't they? Yeah, they're stash.
And also, don't be frightened if you need to. You know, if you were working with a piece yay big, it means so big that. And I only had Bosal, your in our form that was say so big and then so big. I would piece them together. You can be a little bit clever with it. There's no need for waste.
No, absolutely not. If you've got some batting joining tape, that provides a real kind of seamless look. Now, if I don't want to use in our form, you mentioned H640. What kind of bag will that create?
That's just going to create a softer looking version of the bag. So I'm just trying to think. I have got one.
So it'll still be gorgeous. It'll just be a bit softer.
Oh, absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. Definitely.
And then, so interfacing wise, we've got our Bosal in our form, but I'm sensing some interfacing in some of the parts.
That's right. Yeah. So in the tab, which we're going to be making in just a moment, in the tab, you will want, if you wish to use it, these are all wishes to use it, you know, then you might want to use some Decaville in there. It feels a little bit like a malleable cardboard that you can work with, you can sew through it. On that divider pocket on the inside, you will see that that has also got Decaville in it. If you do not want to use Decaville, if it being stiff isn't important to you, switch it out for your H640, layer it up with your interfaces, do whatever you it's your bag.
Sometimes I'll do 2 layers of medium weight interfacing if I haven't got, you can build up the layers, can't you?
Absolutely can.
Or you could also, I would have thought, you could use in our form for the centre divider.
Absolutely, yeah.
Provide a bit of soft structure. That's another thing too, when you're making a bag like this, if it is for something like a laptop, or you're going to be putting things like your Kindle, your phone in there, that extra layer of foam is going to provide a bit of protection, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, so it is a really, if you've never tried using it, give it a whirl. And then we did just mention iron-on interfacing, kind of that regular medium weight interfacing.
Yeah, absolutely. If I had only stiff and my, heavy, I would use that equally, so I wouldn't really trouble myself. So we're going to use that on things like our our zip pockets. We might use that on the on those panel pieces there, just to provide a little bit of extra structure as we're working through.
And then a couple of zips.
Yes.
Now I notice you've used these gorgeous chunky metal zips, which really does bring great style to the bag. Yeah, I think that's really smart.
It's just a bit different as well, and you'll see that I've put those on an angle. If you were worried about the angle, don't worry about the angle.
I really
put them
like
straight.
that angle though.
It's yours, but I just wanted to do something just a little bit different. You're not going to see it on the high street,
but
are you?
Lucy, little bit scary sewing metal zips, because I always use nylon zips, and I've got into such a habit of just sewing over them, cutting them off, trimming them down, whereas metal zips you can't treat like that. They look so much more of a statement. They look amazing on this bag, but you're going to talk to us about how to install a metal zip, a few tips.
Absolutely, yeah.
Great. Well, let's start with demo.
Okay, that's fabulous, thank you.
What have you got to show us?
Thank you. So what I've done today is I've done quite a bit of the work on the outside of the bag already, which I want to talk through with you, starting with how to put those pattern pieces together, if I may. So on the centre of the pattern here, we've got some pattern pieces. Are we in shot there? Perfect, okay. So we've got a few pieces here, and what we've tried to do is fit it all in, so you're not having to take it off to any printers, photocopiers, and do any enlarging or anything like that. If you want to cut them out, you can, but my recommendation, because I can't bear the thought of cutting anything out, I would be tracing this. Use some normal white paper if you wish to do so, some greaseproof paper. We might even have pattern copy paper here, I don't know. But just use something just to trace them off. So you'll take part A here, this piece here, and you'll trace this piece off, and you're going to connect together at the red lines. And we put some handy little triangles in here to connect part A to part B.
Cool.
And then similarly over on this panel piece, which is that centre panel, that real florally piece that you can see. And there's part 1, and over here we've got part 2 here. And then we've got another piece just here, which is all about that tab insert.
Fab.
Okay. So what I've done here, just to show you, is I've traced mine off. I mean, this was actually me working, to be honest with you. I've sellotaped them together just like so, and then when we join them, which we'll talk about in a moment, I've sewn them with paper. And then when we open
sew them together with your machine?
I have the paper. Oh no, you don't need to.
But that's how you join them.
Sorry, let me explain. I've done this just for playing purposes. You will not be sewing any paper together.
Okay.
You are not needing to do that. Okay. This is me playing at home, and I just thought I'd show you because I have brought the bag on just a little bit. So I've sewn them together, and what I wanted to demonstrate to you is that when you join them together, you'll see that all these lines will start meeting. What we've done here is we've put some placement lines. Now this is black and white, the pattern is actually coloured, but we've put some placement lines in to sort of help you when it comes to placing where those zips are going to be on that panel, just to help you along. There's lots of written details and measurements, so you can work it out. But if you're that kind of person that needs to just keep looking and checking against something, we've tried to give you that visual
Well, and
aid.
also as well, Vicky, if you're a
Vicky? Who's Vicky?
Lucy. I've combined Lucy and Picksley. It is, if you're a dressmaker, then having those placement lines on a pattern is absolutely what you'll be used to, isn't it? You know, so you could make those tailor tacks to show where the zip is going to be placed. So I like that support.
Good.
Lucy.
Thank you,
You're welcome.
Stuart. The other thing just to mention, it's like a caveat to myself, I suppose, is, like I say, I brought the first pattern I'd ever made to Sewing Street in May. That's not many months ago.
It isn't.
There's been lots of learning since then. So this is actually the first time that I've produced a pattern schematic, if you like. So yeah, that in itself has been a learning lesson for me too. A hard one, but we got there in the end, didn't we? So yeah, that's how it comes together. So what I'm going to do just now is bring in one of the panels. Like I say, what I've done, I wouldn't normally, but I've brought it on quite a long way because I really want to try and get through as much of the bag as I can today.
Wonderful.
To see if we can get to the end.
Yeah, let's do it.
And some of these elements, if you watch me back on how to put in that zip, I've done it on many programs before.
Yeah, and you make YouTube videos too, right?
I do, yeah. And in these instructions, I've actually put in that as of today, this morning, I have had a video go live of how to do an inserted zip as shown on this bag. And then I've also made it quite specific to people that have bought this pattern on. So this is actually where you want to be placing it on this bag. Okay, so hopefully that will help you. And there's lots of other tips on my website, on my YouTube channel too. So what happens is, let me just pull this down a little bit here so we can't see it. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this piece just here, ignore that, and we're going to cut this piece on the fold, okay, and it will give us this lovely shape just here. So
that's all cut out in one piece?
It is, yeah. So I think of it as a boot. And then you can have, you'll have two of these. Again, I'm kind of thinking as I'm talking really, if you wanted to have the side that goes against your body, there's plenty of denim for you to just do that plain. If you just wanted to have that one bit on the front. I mean, that's the thing about these patterns, isn't it, Stuart? I'm going to say this is the fabric I used here, this is the fabric I used there. But you have got enough to just do as you wish.
Oh gosh, absolutely. And also dig into your stash and make the bag your way, mix and match, maybe even add some patchwork, or any bag that has a sort of solid piece of fabric. I'm always thinking, can I embellish? Can I add something there? Is there a trim that would work?
Absolutely. What I love to do as well is I love to do, but not in abundance, a little bit of English paper piecing. When you join your hexes.
Gorgeous.
And you make your flower up.
Yeah.
I like to join those and then slice it in half. So I've got two pieces. And then I would be tempted to sew in one of those into the seam here.
Love that idea.
So it just pops out, and you could have one there, or just make just one little statement, you know.
Yeah.
There's lots of things you can do, isn't there?
Bit of a hack. I love that. I love that. And if you're getting the pattern on its own, of course, you can do exactly that from the get-go. But it's always lovely to start with some fabric so that you're going to get this bag. This is so
it's the foundation, isn't it?
Yeah.
So as you know, a lot of my panels, my bags are based on squares and rectangles. So when we've got this bit together, so we've now joined our side piece together, we've now got our one big panel. This almost becomes the template to building the rest of the bag now. So whilst there are size measurements in here, just here, if you're not keen to cut in advance, don't worry about it. You can then check, because of course my 1 centimetre might be a millimetre or two different to your
Fair
1
enough.
centimetre. So it allows you to just just cut as you go, and then it truly is yours. Don't worry too much. So when we've got this in place just here, and we've top stitched around here, I like to top stitch on the actual panel here. Normally I would top stitch on the blue, but because of this shape, we've got two opposite shapes wanting to work together. It lays more naturally for these panels seam allowance to fold in rather than out. And the whole point of the top stitching purpose here is to hold things down in place as well as looking pretty. So for me, I have sewn it onto this beautiful fabric.
Yeah,
I love
really
this fabric.
gorgeous.
When I opened up my parcel from Sewing Street and I saw what arrived, to make out that Liberty fabric and this one, I loved it. Now I did have a bit of influence though, I'm not going to lie.
Okay.
And what I was asked to do was to put the dark denim with this fabric.
Okay.
And the light with that.
Oh,
and
no.
I just thought, I think this is it.
Yeah.
For
me, the dark denim with the floral, gorgeous. Let me just show you what's in that. The Red Liberty bundle has that beautiful floral, which you're going to feature front and back. It has the dark denim that you're going to use for the sides, the tab, that kind of thing. And then you've got your lovely cherry red lining for the inside of your bag and your dividers, that kind of thing, plus your pattern, of course. And then the bundle that Luce is working with right now is the Ruby Star Society. So you have this mid-toned blue, more of what I would call a sort of a chambray blue. Really love that. It's a little bit more cash. Love that. And then you've also got your Ruby Star Society print, which makes a gorgeous feature.
The selvedge is lovely on that. I really wanted to bring the selvedge in somehow because I just really liked it.
Could always do that. And then the coral for the lining, plus pattern, of course. Okay, right, so we've got our elements cut out, we've done the side seams and top stitched.
Yeah, so it's all still a flat piece here, and then I've added some interfacing to the back to start giving it a bit of structure. And then we've added in the top panel piece just here. I'm just going to switch it out for this one now.
So interfacing wise, that's your medium weight interfacing kind of dressmaking style.
Now, what I've done here, so we've now got the top panel in here and here. And then what I've done is, because we're going to be putting these pockets in across these stitch lines here, it's like, it's creating a stress point, isn't it? Because we're about to cut through quite an important seam here. So I did double layer the interfacing, okay, just to be really, really certain and sure that we're not going to have any whoopsie moments later on. This is what I mean about when our measurements can just be ever so slightly different. I've left it on purposefully. So you can see mine's just overhung just a little bit. We don't worry. All we're going to do is we're going to reach for our special scissors and we're just going to trim them down.
Trim the edges level.
Absolutely fine,
cool.
Yeah. And then we're going to pop the darts in as well. Now I've got one just left over here to do, so I can show you how to do that.
Oh yes, please.
And I've put the pockets in already, which I'm going to be doing again in a moment on the inside pocket. So I've not done it here. The things just to mention are, I have done mine so the zip pulls go towards the middle, just because aesthetically I think it looks better, okay? If you have your own little whoopsie moment and they go the other way around, or you've got one going one way and the other, don't worry about it. It doesn't really matter in the slightest. The nice little pockets, they do fit, you know, a few of your bits and pieces in there. So that's half a hand that's gone in there. So my fingers are all the way down here. Can we see? So it's a decent size. You'll see on the back, if we look at this here, they do overlap. So when we're working on that second pocket, I would just suggest you just pin that up and out of the way whilst we are installing that, so we don't sew that in place and close part of the pocket off. I want to point this out to you. You're probably going to hate me saying it, Stuart, but when we have this panel here, it's one long panel like so. And when it's all been posted through and sewn in place with the zip, we're then going to just lift the fabric up and we're going to stitch all the way around, just keeping everything out of the way as we go. What I want to raise to your attention is this bit here that might look a little bit ugly and horrible. I always do that.
What is that?
It's just a little tucky thing.
Like a little tuck?
Where it's just all kind of moved a little bit and gone a little bit crazy. I'm raising it on purpose because these little moments can upset people.
Well, it's inside the pocket, isn't it? You can't see it.
And that's just what I want to raise. So it's up here. Let's follow my finger around. It's up here.
Yeah.
Can we see it from the outside?
Yeah.
No, we can't. I'm going to open the pocket. Can we see it from the inside? No, we can't. Even if I do that, can we see it? No, we can't. No. I'm raising it because it will happen to a lot of people and I think that they might be bothered by it. And I'm just saying, I'm giving you permission to not worry about it.
I like that.
Okay.
I like that.
So we've got our pockets in and then we're going to move down. We're going to start making it a 3D object by putting in our little dart. So we're going to have two on the one side, two on the other, on the reverse of the bag, and then when it comes to the lining, we're going to be duplicating that process. Okay. So I have just got this one to do here. Now if I go across to my pattern piece again, Shall I rip it?
Oh, I say.
Why
Daring.
not? Why not? It's enough, right? And I lay this down now. You will have already made your markings, and it's up to you how you transfer your markings. This is how I choose to do mine. So I'm just going to lay my pattern piece just down here. And on here, we've got our little snip marks. And it does say on your copy, snip. Let me just verify that for you. Oh no, it says darts, that's what it says. The snip marks are our matching points. All you need to do is just go across and just put some little snips that are shorter than 1 centimetre. Your seam allowance is 1 centimetre. So you need to just cut within that. Okay.
Gotcha.
And then we're going to transfer our little point up here. Now, Stuart mentioned tailor's tacks. If that's your preferred method, then go ahead and pop a tailor's tack in. For this purpose.
What's your preferred method?
Today, my preferred method is just to get my erasable pen, get a little pin, ease a little hole through, just to make a little space. I've ripped it now, but you know, these are tiny pieces of paper. I'm not going to worry about having to reproduce it. And then all I do then, just in.
Pop a dot, yeah.
Pop a dot. That'll be absolutely fine. That sounded quite funny then. We're going to pop a dot. Pop a dot. Right. I'm just going to wiggle my mat a second. Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I just say as well, thank you so much to everyone who sent in a message on either Facebook or via our email this morning. It's really lovely that you're getting in touch, and thank you. Lovely message coming up on the bottom of the screen. Oh, it's a question. I've ordered the pattern for the handbag. How much bosal would I need? How much of the in-R form for the bag, Lucy?
I'm going to say 1/2 metre, and I'm almost certain that's correct, but let me just double check.
Yeah.
1/2 metre.
Yeah.
The bosal, it's brilliant actually. The width that it will come in is exactly the width.
Perfect.
There is no wastage.
Perfect.
So yeah, that's what you need.
Good.
Hope that helps. Okay, so again, we all have our own way of doing darts. This might be a bit of a cheat, I suppose, but this is the way I do it.
Okay.
I take my pin and I pop it through the hole. I've got my snip marks just here, one there and one there. It's a bit small, let me make it a little bit larger so everybody can see. In fact, I've done a couple there. It's that one, isn't it? Is this one just here? And then I'm going to bring it over and make my 2 snip marks meet there.
Okay, and you've got the pin which shows you the top.
And I'm just going to tug that out. And then I shall pin to secure. And what I do is I just sew straight down, and as I get towards the pin head, I'll just nudge it back out of the way so I'm not sewing the pin head.
So you eyeball it?
I do eyeball it. Now, if I was a very good, sensible girl, which I'm clearly not because I don't have a ruler with me.
I can grab you a ruler.
Ruler it. Oh no, I want to demonstrate that I can eyeball.
Oh.
Why not?
You are being daring today, goodness me.
Why not? It's Friday after all.
Fair enough, that's
Friday
true.
after all. But yes, I would go in. Now, the way I do my darts in bag making as well probably is not as I would when I'm dressmaking either. So I'm going to do this for you, doing my best to slow down. I sew darts a bit too fast sometimes, but the thing with these darts on the bags is they don't have to be. When we dressmake, if we don't get that tip right, we can get a little bubble. And if we get that little sort of bubbly effect in the wrong place, it can look a little bit horrid.
Off.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's nothing terrible that's going to happen here.
No, bag making, home decor, they're a much better place to cut your teeth, aren't they, when you're learning these new skills?
Yeah, definitely.
Fab.
So, right, off to the sewing machine we go. Okay, so, just trying to see what the camera can see. Thank you. Okay, so there's my little snip mark just there. I'm going to start in on the dart by about 1 centimetre. I'm going to hand lower my needle down so I've got some accuracy and I make sure I don't hit that pin. Then I'm going to do the needle down position, okay, on the sewing machine, meaning that whenever I stop, it's always going to go to the next stitch and pop that needle down for me. I'm going to drop my foot down, I'm going to remove that pin out of the way because I don't really need it now, and I'm going to reverse back to the edge of the fabric. So it stopped in the down position for me. Now I'm going to come forward all the way to the tip of where that pin is. So can we see it's just poking its head out, although I think I'm pushing it away a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to come all the way down. If I had a slight curve on that, again, I wouldn't worry. I'm going to go to the edge of the fabric. I'm right on the edge now. Okay, and then I'm going to lift my foot and I'm going to, what I say, tip it. That's my word. Tip it, turn it, but I tip it. And then I'm going to reverse back. So now what we've got is, we've got a, I don't know where I'm looking, we've got a little triangle, which is the dart, and we're going to sew in the triangle as we reverse back.
And why do you do that?
This is the equivalent of locking the stitch off, or, so as you normally would do. Now, if I'm worried that over time I'm going to be putting 5 laptops in that bag, I mean they won't fit, but, and I'm going to be putting a lot of weight on, then all I'm going to do, because I can, I'm going to sew forward again.
So this is a stress point, you can reinforce it if you want to.
Yeah.
It's a really good tip, that. And I love the fact as well that the darts create this lovely shape to the bag. I mean, quite often when we're making things like tote bags, we box the bottom corners, but this creates something that looks similar, but it's not the same. And it does have this lovely, more rounded shape, which I think is really attractive. And I love the fact that we've got a little bit of a curved seam here. Just for anybody who is feeling a little bit nervous about sewing a curved seam when they're joining the front and side panels, any top tips there you can give? Just foot to the floor and hope for the best.
Well, have an alcoholic drink before. No, I'm joking. I would just say, take it easy. Don't be hard on yourself if it's not immaculate and perfect first time round. You can either choose to unpick and try again, or accept that, you know, it's not quite as you would have liked in that first instance. I would also say that we don't always get it right either, but it will be absolutely fine. Just take your time. What you've got, you see, is these two opposite shapes where one's going outwards and which way am I looking? Yeah, one's going outwards and one's going, yeah, two curves here. So this is the straight edge here, all lovely and nice. And then you've got to ease this in. And what I kind of do is, you've got this piece of fabric here and this piece of fabric here. I don't personally try and pin ahead. Okay. I just bring them together like this. My hand's showing that.
As you sew
Literally, as I'm sewing, I tease it in. I make the most of that down stitch function on my machine to keep stopping for me while I just keep drawing it in. I personally also find it easier, or a better outcome, to start at the bottom, what you might think is a more difficult end than the top. And then if it does go overshoots a little bit at the top just here, because it will probably be this side that goes just a little bit taller, trim it down. That's all I would do. Remember that if the size ends up ever so slightly different to what the measurements say, the rest of the pieces build off this shape, so you can't possibly go wrong.
That's wonderful. Well, that's music to my ears. And you know, if you want a nice sort of gentle, forgiving sew, a lovely project, then I think a bag or a home decor project is just a calmer sew, because you haven't got to worry about it fitting to your body shape. You know, I always say, you know, a cushion cover, even if it's not quite perfectly square, it'll go on. Once you've fluffed up the pillow, it'll be fine. Once you've chucked a few things in your bag, it will be fine and you'll be proud of it. So we've made our darts.
We have,
We've installed our zips.
So we can see it's all nicely double stitched there, so it's a really nice strong point. Can I mention something else about bag making as well that some other people mentioned that gives them a bit of an annoying issue, especially if we're working with those harder products like a faux, is that when we sew and we open a bag up afterwards, so can I borrow this just 1 second? So when we've sewn all this together later on where the front meets the back, they'll say, oh, I can see the stitching and I don't really like it. Okay. All you need to do is, when you've sewn that one row of stitching, sew a second 1 millimetre inside of it. So within that seam allowance, sew another row of stitching, and it's actually that row of stitches that takes the pressure.
That's such a clever tip.
So then you don't see it.
I'm going to take that. That's a really good tip, because you do get that quite often, especially when you're boxing bottom corners, don't you, where you can see the stitches pulling.
Yeah.
So just within the seam allowance, 1 millimetre inside.
Yeah, yeah.
Top tip.
Yeah. So there we go. So the next step I was going to come on to, and I'll take your lead, Stuart, I was going to work on this tab element.
Yeah, lovely.
Or I can talk about it, whichever
Tabs
you
are good.
prefer. Okay, so I've just traced off my tab. I did prep in advance because, you know, all we need is 2 pieces. In this case, I've cut off 1 piece of the denim and 1 piece of the beautiful fabric, and sewn that long curve all the way around by 1 centimetre and turned it through. Then what it tells you to do is to use this piece as a template, that's what I'm looking for, to cut out your deckerville. So this is the deckerville I mentioned, very card-like but a little bit malleable. I can work with it. And we're just going to use that to cut out the same shape, but this wants to be just a tiny little bit smaller. When you've got that, you'll see that one side is fusible, so when heat's applied to it through the fabric, this will fuse and become as one. I won't do that today though for time, but I'm just going to slot that inside now, and then it'll be time to install.
Oh, interesting. So you don't sew that into the seams,
well,
you kind of slot it in.
I'm going to be slotting it in. There's many ways you can use it. This is just my method, because we are not necessarily working with templates, are we?
Right.
From a paper pattern. We're making our own.
Well, so often when I do that, I will sew it into the seam, but then I have to go in there and start sort of grading it down, trimming it back.
Yeah.
And actually, I really like that. I'm learning some good stuff this morning. I hope you are too. Thanks for joining us here on Sewing Street, by the way.
So it's all in there now, and then what we'll do a little bit later on is we'll just top stitch around that edge, just to finish it off and make it look beautiful. And then I'm going to add my magnetic closure.
Now before you do that, Lucy, can I just mention we've found a super product actually. Rather than having to buy an enormous piece of very firm interfacing for the tab, we have got a piece. It is 1 metre by 30 centimetres, so sort of narrow, long strip, and it is a firm, it's a sew-in interfacing. So obviously in Lucy's tab it's actually inserted. If you do want to sort of attach it to fabrics, then 505 is brilliant for that, or you can pin it in place and then just use a long basting stitch and sew around the outer edge within your seam allowance to hold those layers together. But that's really useful. You could also use this for things like if you were making wallets or anything where you like the outer part of a wallet where you want a very firm outside, or possibly a bag flap, or sometimes on bags like this you have like a much wider, almost like a messenger bag flap, but they can look really smart too, and it would be really suitable for that. Details are on screen for that. Thank you,
for the
Lucy.
Inside slip pocket too.
Oh, perfect.
For that.
Would that be wide enough as well, 30 centimetres? That would be, wouldn't it?
Yes, with the length.
Yeah,
yes, absolutely
perfect.
fine. Yeah, and you know, if you want to make it more and more stiff, just double layer it. No
Great.
problem at all.
Oh gosh, have a feel.
Do you know? Yeah, that's absolutely spot on. That is.
That's
and
just
you know,
right, isn't it?
You could quilt it as well, couldn't you?
Yeah, you could.
Oh,
yeah,
I'm
you
excited
could.
about that.
We'll get you some.
Thank you.
We'll get you some.
So the exciting bit now, of course, is which way do you want to have your tab? Do you want to have it so the flowers are looking, or the denim? Yeah. That's your gift to have. So then we've got our a placement piece just here for the magnetic clasp.
Am I allowed to pick, by the way?
Pardon?
Am I allowed to pick?
Yes.
Can we have denim? Can we have the denim on the right side up?
Yes, of course you can.
Thank
That's
you.
what I would have chosen as well, actually.
I like that bit of contrast.
Okay, now I'm going to make life just ever so slightly tricky, and I'm going to be doing the magnetic clasp at the last stage. Normally I would do it more towards the start, but I'm not too troubled. You know, it adds to the fun, doesn't it? In all of my patterns, or nearly all of my patterns, what I do is I pop in a skills build element so that we're not on repeat, but we have got in here how to attach our magnetic clasps. So we're going to use a magnetic clasp for today. In one of my bag designs there, Stuart, I actually used a turn lock. So, you know, when you're getting really fancy,
Let me just show that actually. So this is another option. We've got the magnetic fasteners, which are sort of discreet and hidden, but you can just see here on the front where Lucy's used a turn lock, which again looks really smart. And I suppose in a way it sort of draws more attention to the locking mechanism. And if that's the look that you're going for, you can get those too. But for something that's really kind of discreet and hidden away, then the magnetic lock really works well. So tell us how you do that, Lucy, because that's something that can throw a lot of us when we're bag making.
How to do which bit, Stuart?
The magnetic.
This bit?
Yeah.
Okay, so all I've done is I've got one of my little washers and I've just laid it down on the point where I want it, following the pattern. I mean, I didn't, I just eyeballed it. But we're just looking for it to be quite low down, of course, and central. And then I got my little pen or chalk, whichever you wish, and just drew in those two long little lines just there. And then I reached my hand inside and very carefully just cut them open. Now I use my little snips for this job rather than unpicker, but you can use that. And I just snipped them open just ever so gently. And then of course what we need here is we want to have the male part, which is this one just here, and that will just be slotting through now. And what I would also normally do is just get a little extra bit of fabric or H640 or whatever I wish, just to pop it behind those washers too.
Bit of reinforcement.
A little bit of reinforcement, yeah. And then we will pop the washer inside, if I may call it a washer. This could get a little bit fiddly, like I say, because I am doing it this way. If it does get fiddly, just pull out your Decaville, just to allow you to get in. Like I say, it is giving it a lot of structure there. In fact, I'm going to do that. There, straight in now. Should have done that first, you see.
There you go. Well, it's always a process, isn't it? You know,
it's all learning.
Mean, sometimes you put the magnetic fastening in as you before you construct, don't you?
Exactly.
But I mean, it's nice to see actually that you can almost sort of retrofit if you want to.
That's it. And then, like I say, you really should be putting a little extra something on top with just that. But for now, we will pop it in, squash those arms down, and then we'll reinsert the tab. And then we will top stitch, so that's a longer stitch length all the way around that long arch, but I will leave the top bit just here open for now. You can baste it closed, that's absolutely fine, but there's no real value in doing that.
Okay.
And then it will be time to move on to the next step, which is heading to the lining.
Okay, great.
So would you like to see me top stitch this, Stuart, or do you want me to move on?
I want to see you top stitch.
Okay, fair enough.
I really like your thread choice actually for this, for your top stitching, that lovely soft baby pink.
It's beautiful. And do you know this thread? I was going to say it's an Orifil. Treated myself.
Beautiful.
Nice. Paid off.
Yeah.
Paid off.
In what way? What do you mean?
I don't know. It just looks pretty and I like it. And I've got to say that I've got something that's, I don't know, respected in the community.
Yeah. There is something lovelier about using, you know, it's like if you've got a really gorgeous pair of scissors, you know, I mean, scissors cut, I mean, of course, better scissors cut better, but, you know, if they're really lovely and they feel nice in your hands, it's more pleasurable to use. And if you work with really lovely thread, you do see a difference. You know, the top stitching just has a bit more of a kind of glow about it. And I don't know, it's those little refinements, isn't it?
I think in bag making as well, Stuart, what's important to me as a bag maker, doesn't need to be for everybody, there's no rule of thumb, but I really like stitch definition.
Yeah, sure.
Can I show you this? Oh, where am I? I was literally going to show you this.
Yeah, I'll come over. I want to have a look. Just literally here is good.
So look, we've got this beautiful, it's only a soft pink, but it's just helping it just stand out a little bit from that blue denim. It's really nice and even all the way around. It's got a little shine to it as well.
Yeah.
It's very, very delicate. Looks lovely on this side too, nice even stitching.
And is that actually sort of holding the interfacing?
It's just caught it in places. I can't honestly say it's all the way around, but what I would be doing now, which I'm not going to do, is I would be adding a little bit of heat to it, and that will fuse it all together as one. Let me do that.
Yeah, we've got the ironing board.
Let me do that.
It's those little processes, isn't it, as you're working.
Oh.
There's a lock on the back.
I've taken everything with me.
You take it now,
Thank
that's
you.
it.
So just a few seconds holding it in place. And that will be as one forevermore.
Great. Really smart. Love the combination of a print with denim. It's such a smart look for a bag, isn't it? Really lovely. In the next hour, we've actually got lots of lovely faux leathers. We've also got some cork as well. They'd be really suitable for this bag, wouldn't they?
Absolutely.
Where would you put the cork? Where would you put the? Would you put the cork in place of the denim, or?
I would.
Yeah.
Well, yes, it is my go-to response, but I'm imagining it now down the middle, and I think that would look really nice.
Still be able to put the zips through, the letterbox zips?
I think so, yes.
It's pretty easy to say.
If you're ever unsure, test it first on a bit of scrap paper, on a bit of scrap fabric. But really, I would just be thinking about these seams. Always think, where's your stress point? You're about to cut through stitching. If you're going to cut through stitching, of course you're going to create or potential for damage. So all I do is add an extra layer. Even if you only wanted to do a bit around the area that you're cutting.
You could patch it.
You could patch it, it'd be absolutely fine. Just give it a little bit of extra protection. So that's our tab done then, Stuart. And then all we would be doing is centralising it. So we'd be finding the middle of the bag just by a simple fold or a measure, clipping it into place. And we'd be looking for it to be, because you want to see the denim on the top, we're going to lay it with the pretty side facing upwards, and we'll baste it 1 centimetre in place. So I'll just pop some little clips into it to hold it. Look, this is my magic pin pot. Look,
covered.
Wasn't planned, but there we go.
Just while you do that, I'm just going to mention that there are some webbing handles on this bag. Now, if you wanted to do fabric instead, I'm guessing that you would have enough denim in this bundle.
Yes.
To make some denim handles.
Yes, absolutely.
But the webbing is rather nice and strong. If you want to grab some webbing, we do sell that.
One thing you certainly have as well is enough of your lining fabric. There's plenty of that. Let me show. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just sort of mentioning that as we go along, because you know, I do think that a webbing handle or shoulder straps does add a lovely professional finish. But what I sometimes like to do is just combine it with some fabric. I'll show you in the next hour how to do that.
Brilliant idea. And because this is a narrower handle, what you could do is you could make a tube of denim, for example, and then put a safety pin on the end. Yep. Am I pinching your idea?
Yep.
Shall I shut up?
Yep.
Okay.
No, I'm joking.
Okay. Can I talk about the divider pocket?
Yes, please.
Quite like that.
Yeah.
So we take, now I mix things up a little bit with this one because I'm a devil in disguise. If you want to use, you basically need 2 pieces of fabric. Now, I think the instructions I tell you to use 1 fabric, but if you want to, if you're looking at your fabric and thinking, oh, I cut that bit out wrong, or I made a little error, or I'd like to save that for another project, then take 2 pieces of anything you like and sew those together, and basically you're making a tube because you're sewing the top and you're sewing the bottom and turning them through. Now, when I turned this one through, I thought, oh, which side do I want where? Do I want the blue here and and then I thought, well, actually, why do I need to decide? Why don't I have half and half, Stuart?
Yeah, use both.
Because it's my bag, isn't it?
Right.
So I did that. Now I did press the seams open, so they're nice and flat, because I'm trying to reduce the amount of bulk that I'm creating. And then when I'd done that, I slid through, because I self-measured based on what this measurement was, my piece of Deckerville again, or your alternative, which is quite exciting.
Yeah, that would work.
And then you would slot it through. Now, what I'd mentioned to Stuart just a moment ago was this idea of quilting. Now, all I'm going to be doing is fusing this in place and then top stitching the top and bottom.
Okay.
If you wanted to get happy with your sewing machine, of course, we could be doing some lines. I watched Sandra yesterday Santangle.
Santangling, wasn't that amazing?
I was mesmerised.
Yeah.
Imagine some of that on here.
I know.
doing a bit of her santangling,
I know.
bit of embroidery.
I want to tangle everything now.
Oh, Lucy tangles.
I know, it's true.
Oh.
I think Sandra might have covered that.
Amazing.
But yeah, it is a lovely addition. And I think as well, this bag has some nice opportunities, like for example here,
Yes.
you know, you could actually add a central panel of a plainer fabric down the middle when you know construct it, and actually have the santangling down there, or again machine embroidery or a plique, anything, whatever is literally your bag, you can do, can't you?
You can. Or keep it plain like I'm going to.
Yeah, absolutely. I love a really adaptable bag because we've shown it made in 2 different fabrics, but you could make the whole thing in denim or the whole thing in faux leather, and that would look absolutely gorgeous too. One bag, many looks.
Honestly, I think it'd look amazing in just one fabric. I do. And I think that's the thing with us. When we get creative and all creative juices start flowing, we throw all these things, all these looks at our products, don't we?
We do.
Sometimes we need to hush. And in 11 o'clock, I'm going to be doing just that.
Okay.
Hush.
Oh, really?
I am, I know.
Interesting.
Interesting and unbelievable.
I was going to say, we'll see. I'm going to reserve judgment. But it's lovely to have this bag making focus this morning. Have you made a bag recently? Send us a pic. Love to see what you've been working on, especially if you've been making bags, purses. I've got a little question for you. Oh, sorry. If you've got any questions, do send them in via email, won't you? studio@sewingstreet.com.
Do you know what would be really, really lovely?
Go on.
I don't ask for requests. I don't do that.
Right.
What about if somebody has made one of my patterns already and they've
That'd
got
be nice.
photos to show?
Yeah, I'd love to see them.
I went to the Festival of Quilts the other week and I heard Lucy across the room, and I thought, oh, who's here that I know? And absolute strangers.
Okay.
Wanted me to show me their bags.
Lovely.
How fabulous is that?
It is wonderful.
So proud of them.
Yeah, I met so many lovely people at Festival of Quilts. So many of you came to say hi, and thank you if you did. And also so many people came with their bags that they'd either made from Bags for Life or one of the bag panels that I've done here, or the Strippity Doodah. That was awesome. And I did loads of photographs with people who were there. There were 3 ladies, if you're watching, you know who you are. And they had each made my socialite bag.
Ah, lovely.
And all 3 of them stood in a line with it over their shoulder, and I joined them. And it was just such a cool moment because they'd all brought their bags with them.
People will never understand how much it actually means to us.
Yeah.
When not only have they chosen to buy a pattern, but then they're proud to show off their
Yeah,
mates.
it's a real thrill.
Lovely, lovely feeling.
It's absolutely
I
wonderful.
have your Bags for Life book myself.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I've made a few things out of it.
Fantastic.
I do enjoy it. So now just to mention as well, so this is going to get sewn into the lining now. Before we move on, because I really, really don't want to forget, please bear with me, I am still quite new. I made a little bit of a little blip, and it was on the internal zip pockets that we'll be coming to. And that is, again, it doesn't really matter unless you're cutting in advance and then bringing those pieces to,
Okay.
If you do them as you go, it won't alarm you quite as much. But you'll notice here in the internal zip pocket here, I asked you to cut a piece that's 10 inches by 14 inches long. If we go to the instructions, I mentioned that it's 11 by 16 inches long. Okay, so it's a little bit wider. Now, so that there's obviously a little error which we have since corrected, but not in time for this. But please don't worry. It actually makes no difference whatsoever to the construction of this bag. What it means is that when we do that pocket, let me show. Here is that panel piece. This is the piece of fabric that I'm talking about. This piece, I don't have a tape measure on me, but I'm going to assume it's...
I do.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, it's even narrower. Right, I know why it will have been, because I think I made a little bit of an error and I patched some of these up, but it doesn't, like I say, again, it doesn't matter because this piece is even smaller, but it's going to be just fine. Let me show you why. It's the width that's particularly changed and the length just a little bit. The length just means that the overall depth of that pocket will be marginally different if you have cut it that different length. So again, that way it's not making any difference. The difference it's making over here is we're going to cut our pocket and pop it in there. Now mine is the narrowest of them all because it's still not as wide as it should have been. So the bigger it gets, the more space we've got down here when it comes to sewing this piece in place. Remember I mentioned right at the start about the little dimple up here? What I'm giving you all the time, depending on which piece you've cut, is more or less space to work around. It's making no real difference.
So if it's a bit narrower, it'll just be a little bit tighter when you sew around the bag.
You use the word tighter, it's not going to be tight at all. There should be plenty of space there.
Okay, fair
The thing
enough.
you're fighting against really is the fact that on this occasion you've got this in-arm form that you're working against as well. But it will all be fine. I just don't want you to be alarmed, and it has since been corrected, but I do apologise for that little error. So when we've got this pocket in, can I have an indication of how long we've got?
We've got about 5 minutes.
Okay,
Yeah.
just wondering which bit to do first, really, whether to do the pocket. We'll assume I've sewn
Well,
this
I'd
in.
really like to know how to attach that divider in the centre.
Okay, that's fine. What we will
So
do...
I'm being very selfish there.
What we will
That's
do...
the bit I want to know.
It's absolutely fine. So we'll assume that's all sewn into place. Okay, and that's been posted through, so it's now showing on this side. It's really simple, Stuart.
Okay.
We're going to take our piece and... Oh no, the first thing we're all going to do is sew, as I say, but it doesn't fit.
It doesn't fit, it's not long enough.
It's not long enough.
Right.
And when I made my first sample, this happened. But it's not meant to be.
Okay.
It's not meant to be. This, as it looks, is a 2D shape. It has to become a 3D shape, okay?
Okay.
The way it's going to become 3D is it's going to roll around.
Yes.
Therefore, we're going to take one end and we clip it. You look really interested.
It's all new to me, so I really find it interesting.
That's great.
If you can hear that deep and resonant voice in the background, that's definitely not me. That's Michael, who is our multi-skilled operator.
So we would
Hey,
sew
Michael.
that end into place just here, and then we would pull this over here in the same way to clip into place, and then it would just be stitched. It is one of the last things that we do before final construction, because you can see it's really starting to pull things. If you feel that when you go to make your second bag, because you will want to make more, that maybe that feels like it's a little bit short, make it just a little bit longer.
Okay.
It will. Every length has a different look.
Yeah.
But when I made that red one, the red and blue, I felt like that divider could still do with being a little bit tighter.
A little bit like, yes,
Yeah?
I can see. Yes.
I'm just going to be dead honest about that.
Yeah,
I
I
have
can see what
quite
you
a
mean.
small time to do all these things, so I make the adjustments on the hoop.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, that's where it's a little bit shorter.
And then when you insert the lining and the bag, or you put the lining and the bag together,
Yeah.
because I tried doing this once and sewed it in, and then when I turned it through, my divider was inside the bag. It wasn't inside the bag. Do you know what I mean? It was between the lining and the outer. The divider ended up inside.
Oh, you might steal my ideas. I just do it if I tell you. Okay, it's really very simple. We sew this in place to hold it, okay? And then when that is done, we take, its partner piece, which is here and not constructed. We'll pretend with this piece here. All we will do is take its partner piece, so the piece with the peachy corally lining, and we line it up. So we make sure that our darts meet at the bottom, and we clip. Always good practice to put your darts in opposite directions, so that going that way, and clip.
Just got another minute or so, Lucy.
Okay. So I always go to my darts first, pop it in, and pop it in. Start at the top and work your way around, it will all fit. And then when I sew, I just start at the top, reversing to be really sure and secure, work my way down. We always leave our hole at the bottom for turning it through. And then when it's done, it's there. It's just hanging because we haven't sewn the bottom into anything.
Right.
It's free.
Right.
I think that's probably key.
That is, yes.
It's key. The key is to keep this out of the dart.
Right.
The first example I did didn't
Got
do
you.
that.
When I tried to do it, I sewed it into the bottom of the lining as well. So
Right.
it was joined sides and bottom.
I see, okay.
I'm going to give it another go, Lucy. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Brilliant tips from you today, and so many of them.
And
really
when I've made
appreciate
this,
that.
it'll be done over the next few days. I always do this. It will be up on my Facebook page and my Instagram, so
Fab.
you can take a look at it made.
Awesome.
If you're still inspired to buy the bundle, which I hope you are.
Fab. We will see you at 11.
Fabulous.
Thank you very much for that. And we'll be going through a lot of your previous patterns. You have been a very busy designer in the last few months. All right, we'll see Lucy shortly at 11 o'clock. Now then, let's just quickly recap what we've got. So you can get the pattern on its own if you'd like. Remember, this is called the Hollywalk bag, which really came out of Lucy needing to be a proper grown-up and put that smart work bag over her shoulder for her first kind of proper job. I love that story behind the inspiration for the bag. You get all the instructions there, full-size pattern pieces as well, and great step-by-step photography and written instructions too. Fabric-wide, you need half a metre of outer fabric, half a metre of contrast, a metre of your lining, half a metre of Boselin in our form, and then about a metre of light to medium weight interfacing. 2 zips, something for the handles. Okay, and then also we have some bundles as well. Now, if you want to make the red bundle, which is the one that Lucy made right here, this is a combination of Liberty fabric, that gorgeous floral, really pretty, so zingy, isn't it? And it works beautifully then with the dark denim that you're going to combine for the outer. And then you have got your beautiful cherry red lining, and you get a metre of that. So 2 metres of fabric in total. Remember, you'll need to add in in our form, some interfacing, something for the handles, a couple of zips. Now then, we've also got that lovely sort of peachy pink version that Lucy was demoing with. Now you're going to get half a metre of this gorgeous print, which is from Ruby Star Society. And I think it would be really worth just spending a little bit of time centering this part of the design. When you cut out, you want that running down the centre. Don't do like I did on the sewing bee and just slap the fabric in half and cut it out and then discover that nothing's central. And then you're also getting half a metre of this medium toned denim, which works really well with the print. And then finally a metre of your coral lining plus your pattern. A couple more bundles if you'd like to have a look on the website. All right, we're going to go to a break now. Keep sending in your lovely messages, won't you? And thank you for your company this morning on what is a really good morning to be together, isn't it? I'm certainly appreciating your time here with me and the lovely messages that you've sent in. So we'll go to a break and I'll see you after this.
Hello, my name is Fiona Hisford, also known as Sew Girl. I'm based in Worthing on the south coast of England, and I work in my lovely garden studio, which is where I am right now. So my sewing journey began as a child. My mother used to surround the house with Laura Ashley fabrics and wallpapers, and I used to patch together some of the scraps and make little quilts for myself and dolls' clothes and things like that. So one of my top tips in dressmaking would be to definitely make a toile before you start. Sometimes if you're using expensive fabric, it's a good idea to make the garment in a sheet or a cheap fabric, just so that you're absolutely sure of the fit. An interesting fact about me is that I used to be a knitwear designer back in the 80s, and once I made a jumper for the singer Sade, which was really exciting. I worked in Paris for 6 years, and when I came back I fell back in love with fabric again, and I started working with magazines and books and writing projects for them, and that led eventually on to me designing my own collection of dressmaking patterns. My philosophy is that I love comfortable clothing, everyday things that are easy to make, easy to wear. I like modelling my clothes myself, and I wear pretty much everything that I design. So I always think that if I feel good in them, then other people will. I've been working for Sewing Street since it began, and I love it there. We're like one big family, and I'm on the show about every 2 months, and so I look forward to seeing you on the next show soon. Bye.
We know that shopping online can be a confusing and sometimes daunting task. And sometimes all you want to do is talk to a human being. Our family-run customer service team are on call 24/7. Full of friendly, warm-hearted individuals, all trained to make your shopping experience as easy and enjoyable as possible. Not only will they take your order, they'll also help and guide you on your shopping journey, so you never miss out.
Follow Sewing Street on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with what's coming up on the show, as well as being the first to know about our amazing offers. Get involved with our competitions that are exclusive to social media, and pick up some top tips from us too.
Missed the live show? Don't worry, we recorded it for you. Never miss out on your favourite presenters, guests and makes ever again. Head on over to our YouTube pages to watch back the day's live show and enjoy your favourite demos over and over again. Subscribe and turn on the bell notification so you never miss a show or video ever again. If you're a Sewing Street or Yarn Lane customer, no matter how many times you check out in one day, you will only pay one postage and packaging. So don't wait to add the item you want to your basket and check out. You will only pay one P&P even if you check out multiple times in one day.
Hi, morning everybody. It's really lovely to have your company on what is a really sad day, and it's just wonderful to be able to connect today. So if you want to send in a message to the studio, please do, or message us on Facebook. Good to be here together, I think. Now in this hour, with less than an hour really, we're looking at bag making materials, and I'm going to try and give you some tips and tricks for when you're working with different materials. And if you've got any favourite tips when you're bag making, or maybe working with cork or PU, or perhaps fabrics which other people might find difficult or tricky, if you've learned a special technique, I personally would love for you to message in and pass on those tips, because I love to share the things I've learned over the years, usually by making terrible mistakes and hashing things and then finding a better way of doing it. But however you found out your great tip, do please send it in, particularly if it's about bag making or working with tricky fabrics. I was writing an article the other day that was about working with faux fur fabrics and some of the tips and tricks for that. And you know, sometimes it's about that, isn't it? Just knowing a particular technique. Now then, the first thing that we're going to have a quick look at is my book Bags for Life, as it is a bit of a bag making hour. Bags for Life, if you haven't seen it before, I mean, have we met? I wrote Bags for Life during lockdown, and it was really my lockdown project. Everyone comes tagged. I'm sorry about that. I just feel the need to scribble my name over everything. And but it really gave me an opportunity to experiment and expand all the ideas that I'd had for bags and create things that were even more useful, different, innovative, I hope. And we put together, I think, a really lovely book. I'm really, really pleased with how this book turned out, even down to things like the little rainbow zip. You may have noticed this. I can never be presented with crayons, fabrics, or anything else that look vaguely like they go into a rainbow without putting them into an order. That's just me. Anyway, the first thing that you're confronted with is me standing around on a street in London. But bypass that as quickly as you like. And then there's a whole chapter about materials, equipment and basic techniques, because you know, if you've done things like dressmaking or quilting before, you'll know that there are specific products that really help you on your way, and some of them are quite specific to quilt making or to bag making, and in this case it's things that are particular to bag making. So things that you can use to add structure or shape to your bag. All right, so things like H640, in our form, quilt batting. This is a top tip actually from me to you. When I make things like shoulder straps and tabs, I use a lot of waist shaper. So traditionally this is used for making the waistband on skirts and trousers, but it also happens to be a sort of perfect width to use for straps and handles. And because it's got the little slots, you can use it wider, you can cut through the slots and make it narrower, and it's just so much easier to use than having to cut lots of long strips of interfacing. So I really like using that. And then things like metalware that you might use. I don't use lots of fancy metalware in my bags, but things like, I call these swivel clips or dog lead clips, are really useful. We've got these on the show. Things like rectangular rings or D-rings are really useful. These things that look like studs, these are bag feet, and you can put those, you know, when you don't want to put your bag on the ground, maybe it's a bit special and a bit posh and you want to do that. Things like eyelets. This bits of metalware, you only need a little bit and it can really raise the look of a bag. Simple enough equipment for bag making. It's the kind of stuff you'll use for quilting and dressmaking. Some good scissors, decent pins. Wonder clips are wonderful, and they come into their own when you're making bags, so make sure you've got some of those. And then lots of basic techniques. Now, if when you come to make any of the bags in the book there's a technique which feels unfamiliar, then just go back to those chapters, early chapters, and hopefully you'll be demystified, and then you'll be able to get on and make your bag. Now, the chapters are all organised to different reasons why you might use a bag, and that was really my starting point when I wrote Bags for Life. I thought to myself, well, why would you need a bag? When do I use a bag? So I must confess, rather a lot of them involve food, so I apologise in advance, but you know me, so you know food's important. So the first chapter is all about going shopping, a trip to the market, going food shopping. So things like trolley bags. So these are expanding trolley bags. They fit into a full-size trolley, so there's two large and two smaller ones that fit in the front. But if you're going and just doing a smaller shop, you can fold this top layer down. There's a second set of handles, and now they fill a small trolley instead. Sometimes if you do that sort of scan and pack, this is perhaps an easier way as well to sort your shopping, and then you can just pull everything up before you leave the supermarket or the market. Next up, the trifold wallet. This is a really smart sort of wallet that you can make. My lovely friend Joan has made so many versions of the trifold wallet. It's got lots of pockets, space for credit and store cards, space in the back for cash. But I mean, who uses cash anymore? It's almost becoming redundant, isn't it? I try and hand over cash in shops, and you know, it seems very foreign, but you can really adapt this. And if you wanted to put more of these little popper pockets in, you could replace those. All of the spaces are the same as each other, so you can mix and match, and you could add an extra zip if you wanted to. Produce bags, I'm very keen to get rid of those chuck away plastic bags, because they're never throw away really, do they? They stay in the ground. So we'll get rid of those and use fabric instead. An expandable shopping bag, I've made that on air before now. And then we go a day at the beach, the convertible tote and towel, made 6'2", so Charlie will fit on it. The splash proof beach bag. Now this I made as a beach bag, but it's fully waterproof inside and the pocket at the front. So if you wanted to take it swimming or to the gym, or you wanted to use it as a shopping bag, you know, and you wanted to be able to put things in that were maybe a bit wet, like frozen foods, you could do that. There's batting in there. Now if you use something like Thermolam, then that will create a sort of more heat resistant layer, and then again combined with the waterproof lining, you've got a bag which is not only waterproof but will also keep your frozen foods colder for longer. So you mix and match these. You know, I called it Bags for Life because as 21 bags, there's plenty to keep you busy there. But if you start adapting, mixing and matching, adding patchwork, adding embroidery or appliques or anything like that, embellishments, you've got a gazillion bags that will keep you busy forever. Now the Essential Hobo Bag, my goodness me, I've seen this made so many times. Lots of you came to show me your hobo bags at festival, and thank you. I love seeing how you interpret the pattern and the different fabrics you use. I've just noticed Becky Alexander Frost is watching, so good morning to you, Baffa. Baffa's the queen of bag making. Love Becky's bags. I aspire, Becky, I aspire. Now next up, we're going for a picnic, obviously. I told you it was all about food. I particularly enjoyed when we did the photography. I got to eat the food that we'd made afterwards, and I would also like to point out, in the picnic bag, there was, oh no, where is it? No, it was the round picnic bag, it was this one. There was a bottle of wine, and when we'd finished the photography and we'd poured out the glasses, I said to the rest of the team, you know, who wants a glass of wine? And everybody said no. I mean, what's a boy supposed to do? You know, there were glasses with wine in them, so it was a very fun afternoon. We had great fun for doing the photography, actually. Now, next up, a great afternoon in. Now, this, funnily enough, this doesn't involve food, but it does involve my other passion, which is crafting, of course. So there's a craft caddy. You've seen it. I'm always bring this on air with me, my craft caddy. I've used it here for balls of yarn and knitting things, crochet hooks, but of course it's perfect for your rotary cutter, scissors. You can make a load of these easy cubes. Now these just have this kind of stiff interfacing in them. I mentioned this earlier on. This stuff inside, if you've never used it before, this is a sew-in version, but it's brilliant, and it adds this structure without any kind of thickness or bulk. So it's really good where you just want a little box, little basket, something like that. So, you know, yes, you can make the caddy, and 3 of these will fit inside the caddy, but you can also just make these on their own. I've also made these for a nursery as well, and then applique like ABC, things like that on them, or shapes, like they look like building blocks, which is quite fun. The knit and crochet bag, this is probably the most complex bag in the whole book. It's got lots of different elements. So if you're experienced at bag making, or you've made a few of the bags, have a go at doing that. It's so much fun and really, really useful. Got this massive space inside with a drawstring at the top so that your knitting or crochet project can be kept safe and sound. Now I think we've got a few questions about Bags for Life. First question. We have a question. This is from Bex, who asks, hi Stuart, just making your Mendy bag. Oh, lovely. Is it best to use single-sided Bosal, double-sided, or sew-in? Thank you. Bex, it's a really good question. My Mendy bag was a printed panel with, you could colour it. It was all in black and white, but you could colour it in if you want. I used single-sided in our form for that particular bag. I often use all 3. Single-sided is great when you want to fuse perhaps the outer fabric to your foam and then have a loose lining, an unattached lining inside. If you're doing things like slip pockets, posty, postbox, letterbox, zips. They work really well with a loose lining as well. If you're using double-sided in our form, that's the kind of thing where you might layer up and then actually your outer, your in our form and your lining, quilt it, make your bag up, perhaps with the seams on the outside, and then bind those seams. So that looks really smart. That would work really well for something like the picnic basket. Seams inside, but bind the edges. Sewing, that is one. If you don't like fusing, or sometimes you want that sort of less structured look. You want that fabric, or you're using a fabric which wouldn't fuse nicely, that you wouldn't be able to use an iron sort of hot enough to fuse. When you're fusing your bows in our form, you do want to use minimal heat and minimal time, and don't use steam. Now I know I've seen lots of people attaching Bosal, 3-spot iron, loads of steam, and really going at it. And when you're doing that, it looks like you're fusing really, really well. It looks amazing and everything's all flat and fantastic. But what you find is that then the fabric starts to bubble up and unattach, and the reason for that is heat activated fusibles, and in our form there's a heat activated fusible on the fusible side. When you put the iron in on it, the fusible is attracted to the heat source. If you use loads of heat, what you'll do is you'll actually kind of suck that fusible up into the fabric, so it's no longer fusing fabric to in our form, it's actually just in the fabric now, and you'll never fuse it back down. You can remedy that by going in there and maybe adding some quilting, and that will attach the fabrics together, and you usually spot this while you're still at the construction point. So if you've ever had problems with bubbling, less heat, minimal time, just the minimum you can get away with to get the layers together, and don't use steam. There was another question about Bags for Life, I think. We'll find it. Oh, I made the overnight attaché, but I think I need to make another one, but a bit bigger, so I can fit more things in it. Chris, I absolutely endorse, support, encourage that. I think that's wonderful. If you want to enlarge a bag, now I must tell you a funny story. Charlie, my husband, has a fashion accessories company, and many years ago he asked me to help him with some design of some evening bags, so kind of little clutch bags. And when the first sample arrived, it was too small, and so we both sat there, and I'd never made a bag really at that point, much tote bags, bits and bobs like that, but nothing so structured. And we both said, oh, this bag needs to be bigger. And we were like, how much bigger? And we were like, it needs to be twice as big or more. So we said back to the sample maker, we need it, So literally every dimension was doubled. And when the bag came back, it was like a suitcase. And we were like, how did this happen? But because it's not just length and height, it's depth as well. And suddenly you've got this cavernous inside. So Chris, or anybody else, if you're enlarging a bag, try just adding 1 inch to the length, ½ an inch or 1 inch to the depth of the gusset, to the sides and the base. You don't need to add much to get quite an increase in volume inside the bag. Top tip, learnt by experience. Great afternoon in, sewing machine cover, caddies, all things for your craft really. And this has been such a popular project. It's an easy project, it's a zippy bag, and you could make the whole zippy bag just with fabric, but I thought, why not put vinyl windows in so you can see what project is inside, see all the loveliness. My lovely friend Hilary, who I know is watching today, has made a gazillion of these. Hilary went through a phase, I think. She tried the pattern first, and that was it then, made so many different beautiful versions and gifted them, and I think she sold some of them as well. Absolutely wonderful. So last chapter is a meeting in the city, because sometimes I have to get all serious, and a bit like Lucy was saying with her grown-up work bag, I have to put a grown-up work bag on my shoulder and go and do something sensible. But of course I still want to get a bit of fun fabric in there. This one I found grey sort of linen look cotton fabric for the main body of the bags, and then for the flap I've used a really fun print. I don't know if you can see, but it's zebras and pineapples and palm trees and flamingos. But all in shades of grey, so it still looks quite smart and you wouldn't necessarily know. Barbara says, thanks so much for the info about fusing Bosal, as I have made the mistake of a too hot iron and for too long. So that tip was brilliant. Thanks, Stu. Barbara, you're welcome. And I learnt it by error. You know, I found exactly the same thing. My instinct was go as hot as the fabric will allow. Good old blast of steam. Nothing wrong with that. And then I actually worked with the manufacturer. He's a fabulous guy from America, real character, and we were chatting about it, and he said to me, you know what most people do, I won't do the accent, but is use too much heat, use steam, and actually minimal heat. Most of the patterns use squares, rectangles, strips, things like that. Oh, there is one more chapter. I'm saying that's the last chapter. A weekend in the country. The Weekend Warrior, again, great opportunity to show off a fun print. Or it would also look great done in cork or PU. You decide. But of course, let's celebrate with a weekend away. Oh, this was the first chapter we photographed. And it's always a special moment, you know, when you take those first photographs, because you really are laying down how the book is going to look. Up until that point, it's all just in your head. This is a fun one, the Essential Toiletry Bag. It's a zippy bag, really, but the flap that opens out has pockets, vinyl, zips, hidey holes, and then the whole thing goes up and over the bag. So this would be really cool for things like crochet, knitting, English paper piecing as well. Cross-pollinate. Few paper patterns in the back, full size. I'd still recommend that you trace them off. A message from Chris. The crochet and knitting bag is awesome. I use it for my projects that go to knitting group. Chris, you've made it. Fantastic. Well done, you. Like I say, it's a bit more of an advanced make because there's so many pockets and different kinds of pockets, but it's a really fun one once you've cracked doing pockets. Collector in Merseyside's got in touch as well to say, lovely to see you this morning, Stuart. I have your book and the projects are all gorgeous. Thank you, that's really kind, and thank you for being with us here today. So many of you have messaged in with lovely messages, and we really appreciate that here. We're all very, very aware of what a difficult day this is, not just for Britain, but for the whole world, and for the royal family in particular. And of course, I just want to emphasise that we all send our warmest condolences and sympathy to the royal family, but also to you, our Sewing Street family. It's a difficult time. Now then, I mentioned that we had some various different useful bits and pieces for bag making, and I just wanted to mention a few of them. Let's start. Let's start with the roll and press. This I didn't have when I wrote the book. We've got one in a wrapper as well, but this is fab. So this is a Clover roll and press. I absolutely love Clover products. They're just beautiful quality. They feel lovely to use. They're innovative. I love the fact that this one has got space for your fingers. It just feels nice in your hand. It's been thought through. And you have a roller here. And what you're going to use this for, if you're working with a fabric that you can't press or would be difficult to press, for example, things like PU, faux leathers, or real leather that you're not going to press, you would then use your roller. It's also really, really useful just if you don't want to have to keep on getting up and down to the ironing board as well. I'm doing some patchwork piecing at the moment, and there's lots of seams that I want to press open. I just sit with my seam roller next to the sewing machine, and then when I need to, I can just get in there and press. So to use it, literally all you're going to do is fold your seam allowance in, okay, like this, and you might want to measure it in, and then you just use your roller. And what's great about this is if you want to taper that off, if you're doing a curve, it's really easy to do. It's not going to create like a massive ugly crease in your fabric, but what it is going to do, you can see there now, perhaps we've got a defined crease. When we go to our sewing machine, we are going to be able to sew that down, and it's going to hold beautifully in place. They are also brilliant if you want to press seams open or to one side, even on things like patchwork. Really, really useful to do. They're also good if it's an awkward space that you can't get an iron into. So for example, when Lucy was making her Hollywalk bag, there was that curved seam in the bottom, which once the bag's all constructed, it would be quite difficult to get most irons inside there to press that seam out. But what you can do quite easily is get in there with your roller and just work, especially like through the lining of the bag, and just press all your seams nice and flat. Get a much nicer finish if you do that as you go. So that's the roll and press. Now at this point in time, can we just talk about PU? Because I love PU. Is this a bundle of 2? Oh, I gotcha. So this one is the black. So what you're getting here is a metre of PU. If you've never sewn with PU before, it's a faux leather and really wide as well. It's fantastic width. What width is it actually? I could measure it. It's wide. It's wider than regular fabric anyway. Maybe about 50 wide, something like that. I'm going to measure it. Bear with me, I'm going to measure it. Oh, 140 centimetres. Well, that doesn't mean anything to me at all. Thank you, 55 inches. I'll pop this around my neck just in case I need it later. Okay, 55 inches wide, which is great news because, for example, in Bags for Life, I've worked out all of the requirements based on 42-inch wide fabric. So if you're making it with wider fabric, you'll be able to get away with just a little bit less. So 1/2 metre to 1 metre is going to be absolutely plenty for the vast majority of bags. You're getting a metre piece here. And of course, brilliant for a tote bag, a simple tote bag, especially if you use maybe rivets to put the handles on, bit of smart metalware, a few little touches like that, really elevate your make into something really quite special. So never feel like, you know, to progress from your bags looking kind of beginner level and, you know, to looking more professional, that you have to do a more complicated bag. You don't. It's often about the styling and using things like rivets, poppers, smart metalware. Now we've got a second bundle of PU. This is a really lovely deep sort of espresso brown, really deep and rich. Love that. Now again, you're getting a metre. The price is fabulous, isn't it? $13.98 for 55-inch wide by 1 metre in length. You've got your PU on the outside, and then the inside, the wrong side, is a woven. It doesn't stretch. Your fabric won't stretch. It's very, very stable. You can rotary cut it. You can use scissors to cut it. If I'm making with PU, I will rotary cut generally. I'll rotary cut. Obviously, if I'm cutting around pattern pieces, then I go back to scissors. And but if you're using pattern pieces, just remember, please, please, please don't pin your pattern pieces to your PU, because the holes that you make with the pins will not heal. They will still be there in your fabrics. So use things like pattern weights if you use them, dressmaking pattern weights, or you can put things like, you know, little kind of heavy stones or something like that. People sometimes use metal washers, and you can use those just to hold the pattern pieces in place. If you're going to do that, then it's not a bad idea to rotary cut around your pattern pieces, but just make sure that you've got a self-healing cutting mat underneath. Now, question from Kath. Morning, Stuart, and best wishes to everyone. What is PU like to sew with? Well, am I allowed to cut a little bit of this? Can I? And then I'll show you. You first and foremost, Kath, you don't need to use a leather needle. So if you were sewing leather, you would need to use a leather needle. You don't need to do that if you're working with PU. You can see how beautifully it cuts out, and of course it doesn't fray. You don't need to do things like overlock or finish edges. I mean, obviously if it shows inside a bag, if it's unlined, then you might want to add something to the, but you could just pink them with pinking shears. Okay, so I've got my fabric there. I'll just look at a little crafty cup of tea. You know what I'm like. I'll just turn my machine on, and I'll pick a central needle position. And just in terms of sewing it, let's start. So you don't need to use a special foot on your machine. So I know a lot of people, when they're first working with PU, wonder if they have to use a non-stick or Teflon foot, but you really don't. If I just show you there, and you can see that you've got lovely stitch definition. Sorry about that. Lovely stitch definition. You haven't got kind of puckering or short stitches or anything like that. Absolutely fine. I've only got my thumb there because look, I did a bit of a wobble. I lost attention, folks. I lost attention. Now, if you were to do something like a shoulder strap, where with cotton I might be inclined to sew 2 layers together and then turn it through, I wouldn't do that with PU. What I would be much more inclined to do is this, which would be I would fold edges in, and of course this is where I'm embarrassed now, let me move that tea out of the way. This is where you're going to use your seam roller and roll your seams in like this, and then actually fold that over the top like this. Oops. Okay, and then top stitch. Now, one of the things I really like to do with PU if I'm making a handle is to do a bit of a combo of PU and webbing. So to do that, and I'm going to take liberties and use Lucy's lovely clips. And what I'll do is I'll bring the top layers over. So let me just show you. So I'll bring those layers in. Now I've eyeballed this, so it's not terribly accurate, but you get the idea. I've brought the raw edges into the center, and you could roller that. And then I'm going to get some webbing, and I'm going to lay that over the top. And I'm just going to start clipping this together. And you do want to clip on both sides. Now obviously when you're doing this at home, you'll measure this carefully. You'll have a lovely sort of even amount of your PU showing on both sides, but I'm just sort of mocking this up just to show you. So can you see what I've done there? I've got a little bit of the PU showing on either side, and then I've got the webbing running down the center. And then what I'm going to do is go to my sewing machine, and I'm going to use just perhaps a slightly longer stitch length. I'm going to go to a 3, and then I'm going to start sewing. Now I'm using a contrast thread here, just that will help you to see what I'm doing and highlight any mistakes I'm making. Now, this is an opportunity where you could use like a heavier weight thread, or something that was maybe like a variegated or something like that. And then I'm just going to sew back the other way just so that you can get an idea. I think actually a heavier weight thread would look amazing because this thread is rather sinking into the webbing. But it illustrates the method anyway, and that's the most important thing. It's really sunk into the webbing. I think if I used black you could barely see the stitching. But you can see there now what I've done is I've got that little bit of, it's almost like a piped edge to my shoulder strap, and there's from the other side. So you can either have this as your outer shoulder strap, and of course it's reinforced with webbing inside. So that might just be functional. That might just be about, you know, not having to interface and having a really robust strap, but it might equally be decorative. So you imagine if you use something like the black PU and then maybe something like this running down the centre. Now that's a real statement, so you get a stronger handle, a more decorative handle, and it's actually really easy to make as well. So that's win-win-win as far as I'm concerned, don't you think? So little tip from me there. And by the way, isn't that gorgeous? You just need a bit of rainbow in your life. Okay, so that's a little top tip from me. But yeah, really, sewing PU, easy, straightforward. You don't need to use a leather needle, regular needle, something sharp. You know, a Microtex is good, a quilting needle is good, denim is good. Anything like that. Now, one more PU. Now, this isn't bundled. This is something you can buy by the ½ metre. And this is a gold PU. Now, I would say this is subtle, expensive looking gold. So rather than very, very, very shiny, which I also love, this has got a kind of, I don't know, it's a subtle gold, isn't it? I think that's really lovely. Now, of course, you can use PU for garment construction. I'm talking a lot about bag making. But if you want to use this for garment making, you can make things like a skirt from this. You could make things like a jacket. And imagine a lovely collarless jacket would look beautiful made in this. Same principle, the PU is on the outside, you've got that woven soft fabric on the inside. So, you know, you don't necessarily have to line your projects. This is quite an attractive lining inside. Obviously your seam allowances you would either want to bind or you could pink them if you want a quick finish inside a bag. Love that. Now that is cut to order, so if you want 1.5 meters of that, just do 3 units. Now cork. Love cork. And this is another of those fabrics which we might be thinking looks tricky. Can I sew with that? Is it straightforward? But it really is. Now let's start with the medium grain. That's this one, isn't it? Medium grain. Now cork fabric when it came in was just amazing, and we've loved it ever since. It's such a cool fabric because it does just behave like fabric. Becky Alexander Frost has just said it's great PU for a bomber jacket. Becky, I love that idea. Let's do it. A gold bomber jacket for me or for you. But yeah, getting back to cork, again, it doesn't fray when you cut it, which is great news. So you can add details that are pinked, or you could use a rotary blade that has a wave on it, and you can add trim to things without it fraying. But this is super easy to use. Again, it's really easy to sew. Again, can I cut this? Can I cut into it? Yeah, I want to do that. I want to just actually show you how it cuts. So super easy to cut through. You don't need any kind of special scissors or anything like that. Excuse me. Obviously, again, you can lightly press this from the back. And of course, if your piece has been folded up, you might well need to do that. Pressing cloth, iron it from the reverse, low heat setting, and just go steady. You know, take your time and don't rush it. But in terms of sewing, I'll just put 2 layers together and run it through the machine. Because again, you don't need to use a special foot. You don't need to use a walking foot, although I do think by the time you've got to that sort of last bit of top stitching around the top of your bag maybe, that's when I would put a walking foot on, just so that that top stitching is as neat and even as it possibly can be. But you can see there, I've sewn through 2 layers of cork, regular foot, and that's stitched absolutely beautifully. You get lovely stitch definition with cork. It sort of stands a little bit proud of the cork as well. Looks gorgeous combined with regular fabric. So often people will use cork for the base of a bag and then maybe use quilting fabric for the top. That looks awesome, but perfectly easy and straightforward to insert a zip into this as well. And actually, just a quick point that in Bags for Life, I'm just thinking, you know, that where is it? The vinyl bags, these vinyl bags would look amazing done in cork and use cork in place of the fabric, still with a vinyl window, maybe or maybe not, make great toiletry bags without. And because the fabric doesn't fray, you could even get away with not lining this if you wanted to. So you could do a really quick make. Lovely. That's our medium grain. That's going to sell out very quickly, by the way. We've got very, very little of that left. And now we've got 1/2 metre less because I cut it. Now, we've got a dark grain. This is a large grain. This is one of our newest fabrics that we've got in. This is really cool. I like that. I love the texture. Really smooth, but brill. Collector who's in Merseyside has messaged in. I'd encourage anyone to give cork a try. I thought it would be tricky, but it's great for bag bases and little pouches. It's really, yeah, absolutely. It's very easy to sew and it gives a very different look, and it gives a bit of structure as well, don't you think? Because it doesn't sort of flop like regular quilt weight cotton would. So if you're not adding interfacing, if you made something like a tote bag using this, especially if you used it on the base would kind of hold itself out nicely on its own. The top, if you used quilt weight cotton for that, would be softer. So imagine something like a shopping bag where when you're trying to get things inside it, you actually want the base to sit open so you can easily get, look at me, wine bottles. Putting the shopping inside, but that would be really helpful. So, and of course as well, cork is a very sustainable fabric too. All right, I'll pop that to one side. That's our large grain, sort of dark cork. Now, cork also comes with sparkle, and who doesn't love a bit of sparkle? This again, I think, has a lovely subtlety to it. It is a silver vein almost. So imagine this like marble with the veining in between, and that's the effect that you've got here. Just very soft, subtle silver veining, and you can just get that little bit of glint as the bag moves or the fabric moves. So again, really lovely, just to add a little bit of something special to a project. Yeah. Lovely. So those are our corks. Now, we've also got a little bundle of lightweight denims. Now, these are the kind of thing that if you're going to use these for bag making, you'd want to add some interfacing. Medium weight interfacing would be good for a soft structure. If you want more than that, H630, a bit more than that, H640, and if you want your bag to really stand up for itself, go for in-R form. So we have a little bundle here. I love that plaid denim, and it's a really lovely soft, quite lightweight. Got the Swifts, I think. Those are Swifts, aren't they? Swifts or Swallows? help me out. And that gorgeous stripe. Now, of course, anytime there's a stripe and a floral, I want to put them together. That is such a smart combination. Equally, the plaid would work really nicely with those. You could make a set of shopping bags. I mean, really lovely, really lovely. You're getting 1/2 metre of each of those different denims. Only available in the bundle though. Gorgeous, gorgeous. We're going to go to a break, and when we come back, Lucy will be back with me with a big roundup of lots of the patterns that she's done over the last few months. A really good opportunity to ask questions about her bags if you've bought one of her patterns or kits in the past. And we're also going to be talking about sewing with real oilcloth. Stay tuned.
Hello everyone, my name's Cara Ackerman and I'm absolutely delighted to be here at Sewing Street. I actually originated from Hertfordshire, then went down to Hampshire and then it ended up in the East Midlands. I've been in the East Midlands for about 40 years now, which seems crazy, but 36 of those I actually worked with DMC Creative World, which was wonderful. I really, really enjoyed that. And then I decided to go freelance, and that's how I got introduced to Sewing Street. I love doing anything to do with textiles, so embroidery, cross stitch, patchwork, done a bit of quilting, bag making, toy making, oh goodness, there's loads and loads of things. What I love doing is just trying something new, and I think one of the tips is don't be frightened of trying something new. You always learn from it, and you know, don't be scared of making mistakes either. We all learn from the mistakes that we make. Little bit about me that you might not know, and that's a bit of a surprise. I once went to the garden party down at Buckingham Palace, the Queen's garden party, for some work that I did with Marie Curie. I was so lucky to go there, and just a wonderful time. So I hope to see more of you on Sewing Street, and I hope to try lots of new crafts with you. So see you again soon. Bye bye.
Stuck for ideas for the perfect gift? Why not get them a gift card? You can buy Sewing Street and Yarn Lane gift cards loaded up with anything from £10 to £500. Shop our gift cards online at www.sewingstreet.com or www.yarnlane.com, or purchase them via our UK call centre on 0800 001 44 33.
Missed the live show? Don't worry, we recorded it for you. Never miss out on your favourite presenters, guests and makes ever again. Head on over to our YouTube pages to watch back the day's live show and enjoy your favourite demos over and over again. Subscribe and turn on the bell notification so you never miss a show or video ever again.
We have some exciting news. Sewing Street has been nominated in the Best of Craft Awards and the British Sewing Awards for 2022. We're so amazed that 2 years have flown since Sewing Street started, and we couldn't have done it all without our Sewing Street family. Thanks to our presenters and guests for entertaining and inspiring us every day, and for all of our viewers for tuning in for all the fun. We've been lucky enough to be nominated for 2 awards this year, which are the most loved TV shopping channel at the Best of Crafts Awards and the best sewing social media account at the British Sewing Awards. To vote, please head to our website to find out all the details you need to get involved. Thank you for your support and votes.
Have you heard about all the different ways you can shop on Sewing Street? You can shop on our website sewingstreet.com, and you can also order by phone by calling our friendly UK customer service team. Just call 0800 001 4433.
And don't forget about the Sewing Street app. Here you can shop all of the Sewing Street products as well as watch the live shows from anywhere. You can download the app, onto your smartphone or your tablet by simply searching Sewing Street in your app store. And one final thing, no matter how many times you check out on Sewing Street in one day, you will only pay 1 postage and packaging. Happy shopping! If you're a Sewing Street or Yarn Lane customer, no matter how many times you check out in one day, you will only pay 1 postage and packaging. So don't wait to add the item you want to your basket and check out. You will only pay 1 P&P even if you check out multiple times in one day.
We know that shopping online can be a confusing and sometimes daunting task. And sometimes all you want to do is talk to a human being. Our family-run customer service team are on call 24/7. Full of friendly, warm-hearted individuals, all trained to make your shopping experience as easy and enjoyable as possible. Not only will they take your order, they'll also help and guide you on your shopping journey, so you never miss out. Good morning, friends. Thank you for sharing your morning with us here at Sewing Street. Excuse me, I beg your pardon. On what is a really difficult morning for everybody. But we appreciate you being here with us. Now, in this hour, we have got Lucy Picksley back, and with your wonderful bag patterns, and we have got a bit of a roundup, a good selection of the bag patterns that Lucy's done over the last few months. You know, I find it really, really amazing, Lucy, that this has all been over the last, what, 4 or 5 months?
Yeah.
Yeah, incredible. Just a gorgeous range of different bag patterns. Now, you might have bought one of these previously. If you've got your version made up and you've got a picture, do send it into the studio so that we, in particular Lucy, can see your version. Or if you're yet to work on it or are working on it and you have a question, or if you are thinking about making a bag and you have a question, it's a great opportunity to ask. So get your questions and your comments into us here at Sewing Street. Now we're going to start with the Lillington bag. 2 different bundles, and I just want to show you the Lillington bag. Now this is the Lillington bag here.
No.
No, the Lillington. Oh,
It's right
this
in front
one.
of you, yeah.
This is the Lillington. Thank you. It's like a little messenger bag, right?
Yeah.
So you've got a little shoulder bag, snap fastener at the front. Okay, love that. Great opportunity for showing off a favourite fabric, and you don't need much. Then you've got a zip pocket on the front as well, so you can grab all your necessaries. Never lose your necessaries. And then inside the bag, plenty of space, and also a slip pocket in the back as well. All nicely softly padded. And then the all-important adjustable strap, shoulder strap, so that you can wear this over your shoulder if you want to, but also then lengthen your strap so that you can wear it as a crossbody bag. So gorgeous bag, that really good as a I'm popping out, I'll be an hour, where's my Lillington bag? And also I think you could make that really lovely in something like tweed as well, or faux leather.
Oh, absolutely.
Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Now, we've got a pattern on its own for the Lillington. So if you'd like the pattern on its own, these are the details you'll need, $9.99 for that. And inside the pattern, you've got everything you need. You know, you've got the tale to tell, and Lillington, where the Lillington comes from. Might be asking you that. And then all of your cutting instructions. I love the fact that it's all done as a chart. Really, really easy then to tick off as you go through it. And what you've made, what you've cut ready. And then you've got your step-by-steps for how to actually create the bag itself. Good beginner level bag, this, isn't it?
That's absolutely what that's intended for. It's for the person who either is familiar with bag making and wants to make a quick bag, because it is quite a quick bag to make when you're familiar with the techniques, but for the person who wants to have their first go. So for example, I met a lady not long ago who wanted to go and very nervous about having a go at making a bag, and last night she sent me some lovely photos of her completed Lillington.
Fabulous, yeah.
So yeah, no problems whatsoever, no questions along the way. If there are ever any questions though, please do get in touch. I'm always quite responsive, want to help you succeed in your make.
Thank you for that. Yeah, if you've made a tote bag, something like that, you'll already have the skills. Nice simple make. So that's the pattern on its own. We've also got 2 bundles if you'd like to create a version from us. Let's start with one that has a mixture of denim and florals, favourite combo of mine. So what you've got here is you've got your denim, and this is a lovely mid-toned blue 4-ounce denim, and you get 1/2 metre of that, and then you have got a couple of fat quarters, and you're going to use this for your bag flap and also for the back of the bag.
I can talk about how we use our fabrics in a little while if you like.
Yeah, perfect. Got you, yeah. The picture on the website doesn't actually show the denim, it shows the floral fabrics, coral colourway, but not the denim. So you're going to use the denim for the majority of the bag, for the outer bag, and you get plenty of that. And then you've got that sort of solid coral as well. So you can mix and match, line it as well, all of that's included, plus your pattern, of course. So that's one option. The second option is using what I referred to in the last hour as real oilcloth. Now we come to, yeah, it's got a strange name really. It is called oil skin. Yeah, cotton dry oil skin, that's it. It's not skin, it's cotton, but it's been oiled. So I think nowadays we're used to the stuff that you can buy for putting over tables, can't you? That has a sort of, you know, woven fabric that then has a plastic layer applied to the top to make it sort of wipeable. And that can be very suitable for bag making. But what it comes from, the original, if you like, is oiled cloth, which is quite literally, as the name suggests, a fabric which has had an oil applied to it. Now, that makes it sound greasy, like it would be sticky or mark things, and it couldn't be further from the truth. This is that dry oil skin fabric. Again, no smell, there's no odour at all. Sometimes I think it comes from things like coats and capes and things like that. You can get those, and they sort of smell almost, I don't know if it's linseed that they use or what it is, but it can smell rather outdoorsy, shall we say, rather outdoorsy. Whereas this, absolutely odour free, there's no stickiness or tackiness to the fabric, but it has got this wonderful feel to it. It's very crisp, it's very firm, it doesn't feel like just ordinary cotton fabric. You can feel it has a weight and a texture to it. The thing I love about oilcloth is that proper oilcloth, is that as it ages, it takes on kind of personality, doesn't it?
It gets better and better.
It gets better the more you use it, you know, because it does actually have those, to sort of develop those creases and lines. I'm looking at myself in the monitor now, as I mentioned, creases and lines.
You can treat oilcloth, I'm not sure you're savable.
It's character, Lucy, it's character. Good, just don't come too close. So you get a 1/2 metre. That's for the main body of your bag. It's going to mix beautifully with quilt weight cotton. You've got some fat quarters. These are darling, aren't they? Look at these, really pretty. If you wanted to make your outer flap using these, line pockets, the back of the bag, you can mix and match. And then you also have some fabric to do some of the lining with as well. Again, with these, Lucy, with these bundles, would you add something extra in for the shoulder strap?
I would, the shoulder strap, I would use the webbing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And through the body of the bag, I would use H640.
Right, so this is quite a softly structured bag.
Yeah,
we were
absolutely.
talking about what effect H640 would have on a bag. And if you have a look at this, it's without sort of deliberately holding it up, it has got some structure. But you can see it is soft. It is soft structure. So it would empty, it kind of does hold its shape, but it would collapse down a little bit. So it's not as stiff or as firm as a bosal in our form, but you do have a nice soft structure to it. And of course, once things are inside it, it's going to hold its shape really beautifully. So that's H640 in there, and a metre is going to be enough for at least 2 of these bags, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
and the rest.
Yeah, exactly. You'll get plenty out of that. Webbing wise, Lucy, how much webbing do we need?
I think, well, now this is a personal thing, isn't it? I think I say 1.40 m, 140 centimetres in the instructions. If you're taller, add a little bit more.
Yeah.
So maybe get 1.5 meters in your basket.
Yeah.
If you want it to be fully adjustable. If you're ever in doubt though, I always say pretend you're wearing it, throw a tape measure around your neck.
That's exactly
and
what I was
measure it
going to
down
show
to
you.
just where you like it to sit on your hip.
Yeah.
As Stuart's showing.
Just grab your tape measure and have it across your body. Because also as well, it's about things like chest or bust measurement as well. You know, you've got to think about where that strap is going or across your back. Easiest way is just to use a tape measure.
Yeah. But of course, even if I bought 2 meters, because it's an adjustable strap, it will take it absolutely fine.
Yeah, yeah. And then you can have it short enough just to go over your shoulder. Absolutely ideal. So that's the Lillington bag. 2 different options plus a pattern if you prefer. Now then, also to go with that, we've got some metalware. Now, just be careful with this because you want to make sure that your sizes are appropriate for your webbing. So I'll give you the measurements. If we start with the D-rings, these are 25mm D-rings. So is that about an inch?
1 inch.
An inch. Sorry. Forgetting we don't have an overhead there. So those are your D-rings. You get 4 in a pack. How many do we need for the bag?
2.
2. Perfect. But if you were using that webbing, you would want to either narrow it down, or you can create a little fabric casing for the end that then narrows down. That looks really smart. So that's the D-rings. And then we've got strap sliders. And these are rather smart. I like these. And again, it rather looks like a buckle, and that's the principle, isn't it, when you put a strap slider on?
Yeah.
Will you show us how to install a strap slider?
Yeah,
later,
why
please?
not?
That'd be awesome, because that's something, whenever I teach a bag making workshop, it's always like an aha moment. It's fabulous, and it's something you can add to so many different bags as well. Yeah. Backpack straps and things like that, ever so easy. All right, so that's the metalware that we've got. Now, let's go over and see a bit of demo, shall we, Lucy?
No problem at all, that's fine. So I am going to, I mentioned, you asked a question, which fabric do I use where? And I said, let's chat about that. The reason why I want to chat about it, it goes back to the 9 o'clock hour really. It's your bag. You can choose what fabrics you want to have where. The one that you saw just there in the red, that had a mixture on the outside of the oilcloth in the red and then 2 contrasting K-facet fabrics. You've got enough fabric there in your fat quarter bundle to have a bit of a mix and match option. So you could have 2 bags that on the face of it look quite similar, but just by placing those lining fabrics, the contrast fabrics in slightly different places, can give it a slightly different look and feel. Today what I'm going to do though is I'm going to throw the rule book right out the window, and we're going to have all oilcloth on the outside, because I really want you to go away feeling like you understand it that little bit more. It is one of my absolute favourite go-to fabrics that I just love using it. I use it a lot in the majority of my samples that I make. One, it's sturdy, it's stable. You'll be familiar from watching the channel, there's many fabrics out there where we have to use lots of pins to keep it still and stop it slipping around. This sits really well. I mean, we can see there already, just as I hold them, they're not moving. These corners are not flopping in any kind of way. That tells me it's got great stability in it. We talked about how it weathers and changes, and it truly does. If you want to bring it back to its original life, if you like, if you head over to the original sites where you can buy this from, you can actually buy a feed. It's a bit like looking after your shoes, isn't it? If you want to give it a bit of a polish, then you can polish in some of the waxing to give it a fresh, revived look. But like Stuart says, this has got absolutely no any grease, oil,
stickiness,
smell,
yeah.
residue whatsoever left in it. Okay, it is shower proof, so we're talking about light showers. You know, if you're going to go out into the rains, we've had more recently, perhaps it's not going to hold up quite as well, but it is very, very good product to use. I was saying to Stuart earlier on, it's absolutely beautiful to use a contrasting thread with these fabrics. The stitching shows up absolutely wonderful. And if I show you on this piece just here, then you'll be able to see hopefully just how well. This is a grey thread that I've used, a light grey. It really, really does show very, very well.
I was going to ask you actually, Lucy, when you talk about contrast threads, because it's easy to think like high contrast, like really, really, you know, but what would you say when you're looking for contrast threads?
Oh gosh, that's a difficult question because it all comes down to my senses rather than maybe technical knowledge perhaps. And in my sewing studio, I have a wall rack with all of my threads on that run in colour order, and I will literally take this to it and I will just, it's like choosing paint when you go to one of the stores. I just run it along until I see a few options that I like, I take them down, and then quite literally what I will do, if I show you with this pink here, it's not, you can't just do that and look. That will give you a good eyesight of what it'll look like. I'm then going to pull it out and I lay it down one thread. What does that now look like? How much does it stand out? Because the act of it standing out, you've got to get the, for me personally, you've got to get the balance right too. If I want to have a go, but I'm not sure I always sew the straightest, I might not go for something quite as bold as this pink. Maybe I'm going to choose a fuchsia that's a few tones away from the fuchsia.
And would you tend to go lighter or darker when you're picking, if you're not going to get an exact match?
Oh, if I'm going for something towards a match? Honestly, don't know. I'm not sure that I've ever thought about it.
See, I would, you know, consider using something like an orange thread on hot pink. So, you know, contrast almost clashing, but that light pink looks really cute. The pale grey looks good.
And just to talk about your threads as well, this is a regular thread. There are top stitch threads out there on the market that if you were making a pair of jeans, perhaps you would use that. It's much, much thicker. I wouldn't use it on bag making, but only because in bag making we normally see the bobbin thread and the outer thread, and when you're using those heavier threads you might normally use a similar colour but not the same weight for the underside.
Cool.
And I want it to look balanced and even and lovely.
So where do we start on the Lillington?
Well, first of all, with its title, if we may. So Lillington, it's probably, well, this was one of the first patterns that I produced, so therefore we must be quite early on in my childhood, and we'll talk about the Warwick later. But Lillington is all about the place that I lived in from the age of 10 years old and what friendships looked like at that point in my life. So, and interestingly, I talk about my friend Kath, who I haven't seen in quite a number of years, and after this she travelled up to see me, which was lovely, so we were able to reminisce a little bit and have a bit of a chat about the past, which was lovely. So all sewing is done with a 1 centimetre seam allowance. I have done a bit of prep already, so we're not, so we can really get a feel of how this is coming along. I have started with the flap. So this is the flap all constructed. This pattern is all about squares and rectangles. So I'll ask, how do we get this shape here? The first thing we do is we have a square here, and we attach this piece just here. I call it a flap gusset. We join them together and then we do this beautiful row of top stitching. This is actually a longer stitch than I normally use. It's a 4 because I really felt that it could take it on this fabric. It looks absolutely gorgeous. When we've got this one shape here, that now gives us the panel piece we need, the size for the lining here. And this is where we can start seeing some of our contrast fabric, which I thought was really, really pretty. I would have gone for the other fabric, but this has got a slight background tone to it that might not catch on camera. It's got a very gentle pink hue, and I was just thinking time of year, if I had the whiter background, it might just catch a bit of muck here and there, so just a bit of careful placement there. So then we lay our fabric, we attach some of the fusible H640 to the inside as shown here. Now the H640 will not bond to our oilcloth. It will bond to the cotton fabric, but not the oilcloth. But
Why
please,
is that?
I don't know.
It's just like a non-stick
it just
finish.
seems to resist it.
Oh, okay.
But it's not really a problem. The fusible element's just a lovely thing to have, but it's not going to make any great problems here. All I did is that when I laid it over, I top stitched through. So it is sewn together with that. Through there. So I've just stitched it to secure
goes through all
it.
the layers.
Through the layers of the outer, but not this piece just here.
Okay.
So when we've got the fusible onto the outside piece, and we've got this, we're then ready to cut our shape just here. So all I ask you to do is from this bottom corner here, because we have our corners on, we measure up 2.5 inches and we measure across, and then I just use something round just to connect. We take our same measurements here and we can draw the same line, or we can take the cut piece that's just here, flip it to transpose it, to mirror it, and draw the line ready to cut that again. And then we're good to go. We've got our shape at the bottom and we can come down and around and turn through. Now what I've done on here, Stuart, I hope you don't mind, but I've obviously already demonstrated the magnetic clasp, so I thought it'd be good to insert something a little bit different on here, but again I'm just trying to show the versatility. When you're starting out, use a magnetic clasp. It's a beautiful feature, it looks very, very nice, but as you increase your confidence and skills, there's some beautiful hardware out there, you might want to have a bit of a go at something different. These are very easy to use. All you need to do, they come in 2 parts for this one part, the outer part. It's the equivalent of the, what would you call it, the female, I think that's right. You have 2 little screws just here. You take your screws out to take the parts apart, and then you cut a hole to insert, and then you screw it all back together. Quite simple to use. So that's our flap all ready to use. We then have the rest of the outside panels, which is made up of 2 squares. Caught it a little bit there, won't worry about that. And what we've got here, which is the gusset, which is the sides. So we've got to work out now how to make this a 3-dimensional shape. If that was a drawing, that's how it looks. Okay. And then we've got the tabs, which are here. So the first thing I'm going to do is make one long gusset panel piece. So all we're going to do first is connect those 2 short ends together.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to flip. Now there is no right side or wrong side to this fabric, not to the best of my knowledge. I don't use pins when I'm working with oilcloth, I use clips. So I'm just going to clip the ends. And we're going to sew, and I'm going
So you just sew straight across from one side to the other?
I do, reversing at both ends to lock, and I'm just going to clip the other end as well, just whilst I'm here.
Fab. I'll let you sew that. I just wanted to read a little message actually from Facebook, which is rather lovely. I mentioned earlier on if you've got a message that you wanted to send in or a memory. Christine, who I know is poorly at the moment with COVID, sending lots of love to you, who said, "Good morning, Stuart and Lucy, on this very sad day. I was lucky enough to see Her Majesty the Queen during her Golden Jubilee tour of the North East. I went with the school I still work at today as lunchtime supervisor to see her. All children were given little mats to sit on, and we all sang World War II songs as we waited for her to open the Millennium Place, Durham. We were then moved closer to the front because of our singing." Well, that's a good sign, isn't it? Move closer. "And some children were in the photos in local newspapers. She said our singing was wonderful. God bless her." That's such a and isn't it, you know, we carry these memories forever. And they really matter, you know, even though it might be when we were children or a long time ago. I just think that's really lovely. Thanks for sharing that memory with us today, Christine. Now then.
So they're all attached, and I'm just trimming my threads off. Now the next bit is optional, okay, but it is a bit of a favourite of mine, if I may. So we've got our long tube. Because I do like a few details here and there, I'm going to take my oilcloth, the join here, and I'm just going to finger press it open. If you've got one of the clover rollers, is that what it's called?
Oh, I've got one.
I've never used one.
Let me grab one for you. I'll grab one for you.
Go
Hold
on,
fire. Hold fire.
Oh, is it?
Oh, is it down that end?
Is it there?
It's right there. There we go. It's exactly what I was saying. It's brilliant when you want to press your seams open.
Yeah. So So can we just talk about ironing with oilcloth? Mixed views about ironing oilcloth.
Okay.
I do, but carefully and quickly and where necessary.
Right.
It will change colour, but it returns.
Right.
I haven't noticed that it damages in any kind of way or anything like that. So I think the rule of thumb is you can, but yeah.
But we rather like the roller.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the roller.
Absolutely.
I'm always using it.
Yeah, I mean that's really made it quite flat, hasn't it?
Yeah. And also as well, you know, I don't want to be up and down, up and down. I like to sit at my sewing machine and do as much construction as I can. And with that seam roller, it's really, really good. You can just sit there and keep going.
So I'm going to increase my stitch length, and all I'm going to do now is where the seam line is, I'm just going to give it a quick stitch both sides, okay?
Oh, nice.
So just to keep it down, it's keeping the seam down, so it's doing a functional job, but I just think it looks quite pretty as well.
It's really rather smart, isn't it? Something like that. Again, it's what I mentioned earlier on. You know, you want to elevate your bag making from, you know, looking more professional, and it isn't always about picking a harder or a more complicated pattern. It's refining what you do. So a simple tote bag, a simple gusset with some really smart top stitching, perhaps in just a slightly contrasting colour, can just add you know, it's a bit of extra spice, isn't it?
Yeah.
That looks lovely.
It does, doesn't it? And I cut across there, but that'll get sewn into the final join line, so I'm not too troubled whatsoever about doing that. I just want to save a bit of my thread as well. This Lillington bag as well, I do talk about it, and I think if you went back to the first show that I was on, the different ways you can add that zip pocket.
Okay.
So as in the different places in the bag.
Yeah.
So some of the examples, there is a hashtag for it called hashtag Lillington bag. You'll see people have put pockets in different places. The technique's the same, it's just the place that you're putting it.
Yeah, because you could put it on the back of the bag, couldn't you?
Yes. I also show you how to do the zip pocket and the slip pocket together on the inside in the same place.
Fab. Now I'm just going to show you that bag again. So so over the shoulder, really lovely, but also could be worn cross body. You've got your flap at the front, which has a magnetic fastening. And then underneath there, you have got your, well, potentially your zip pocket. Okay, now you can have it on the front, of course, but you could equally well put that on the reverse on the back of the bag, or you could put a slip pocket on there, you could put a zip pocket on both sides. You might add a bit of extra fabric of your own, but you know, this is all about adapting and modifying. And then inside the bag, you have got a lovely bit of space there, and you've also got a slip pocket in the back. Now this one isn't divided up, but of course if you wanted to do a smaller pocket for a phone, you could adapt it there as well, but really nice and neat. Now if you want the pattern on its own, you can get that. I'm just going to find it here. There it is, the Lillington bag. And you get your instructions there. Love that the flap is such a great showcase, isn't it?
It is.
For a pretty pattern, a pretty fabric.
Oh yeah, I've done one that's got this most beautiful hummingbird on it. You know, when you, that is a proper fussy cut moment.
Yes, exactly
you know?
right. Now we've got a couple of bundles as well of fabrics. If you'd like to reproduce the one that Lucy's working on right now, then here's the bundle. So you've got your 1/2 metre of proper oilcloth. It's a cotton dry oilskin. It's not skin, it's cotton, and it's not oily. It doesn't feel sticky. There's no residue there. It's completely smooth, and there's no smell either. So don't be put off. If you've never seen this before, it's terrific fabric. It has great structure. And of course I neglected to mention, but you did, Lucy, that it's showerproof, which makes it really practical for the outer bag as well. Really good. And then you're also getting 3 fat quarters, and you can mix and match how you use these. You're getting a solid ivory, you're getting this lovely floral on a pinky lilac background, and then you're also getting this larger scale floral, which I'm just going to open out for a second, just so you can see and appreciate the pattern. That's lovely, really lovely. Make a really pretty lining, but you could also use that on the outer flap. Okay.
Absolutely. So I'm now ready to start attaching the gusset, and I'd really like to show you all how to do that, because we're going to go around some awkward corners now. So I've just started by pinning the gusset with the right side, i.e. the good side, facing one of these panels. Remember, it's square, so it doesn't matter which way around it goes. Just clipping it at the top and working my way down. As we get to the corner, what I want you to do is just in this little section just here on the gusset piece, make little snips into it, and that's going to allow us to ease a little bit round the corner. Now please don't be worried if this is not 100% perfect. We've got 2 pieces that are joining here. It is going to be a little bit more tricky, but it's perfectly doable as long as we take our time. I'm just going to sort of push that corner down, so I am forcing it down a little bit there, just to hold it. You can see there's a little triangle there where it's not hit, and that's absolutely fine and acceptable. And then I would be working across, but I'm going to do this bit as I get there, okay, rather than really trying to force the fabric round. But as this piece hits this corner again, I'll just stop when I'm about here, and I will just do those little snips again to complete the pinning process. So regular stitch length, 1 centimetre seam allowance, and reversing right at the start again.
So 1 centimetre seam allowance?
Yes, 1 centimetre. I always use 1 centimetre in all of my bags, unless we're doing any quilting elements.
Yep.
Quilting elements are always 1/4 inch, and top stitching is always 1 to 2 millimetres away from your seam line.
Perfect. And of course we have got some other lovely bags to look at from Lucy as well, which we must remember to do because they are gorgeous. Keep on looking down at them down there, and they are absolutely wonderful.
So we're just working towards that corner, so a few stitches at a time. So I'm now on the centre join of that join line of the 2 end pieces. So now I'm going to lift up my foot to rotate the fabric around, and I'm going to get my gusset now, and I'm going to fold it up and over out of the way. And that will allow me to ease around. Foot back down. The seam is just fighting a little bit, it's kicking up, but it's fine. It will behave. And then I'm a little bit trapped here. Let me just get that out of the way. There we go, and we're off again. And now I can go along about halfway. If I've got a little tuck in that corner, I won't really worry about it. We turn a little blind eye because it really doesn't matter so much. So just some little snips again, just to help us get around that corner. And off we go.
The oilcloth looks really easy to sew.
It is. It is. I mean, you can force it to do things. I know it worries people, but there really is no need.
No, it's a great fabric. I love it. And it's a world away from that sort of plastic coated fabric that you might have seen used.
Yeah.
I mean, that is still great for bag making. There are lots of things like baby bags, picnic bags, that kind of thing that you can make with that kind of plasticized cloth. But this is, if you like the traditional oilcloth, but brought up to date. The manufacture of it means there's no stickiness, there's no residue, tackiness or smell.
It is a bag, honestly, that's going to last you a longer, much longer life.
It's really sturdy, isn't it?
It really is. So if I turn this out now before I get the next piece on.
How are those corners looking?
I'm happy.
Fab. Which your bag?
There we go.
Great.
Absolutely
Lovely.
Fine.
The
So
reveal. They call that the reveal, Lucy.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do didn't do a big ta-da. So then what I'll do is I'll take my second piece and I'm going to simulate the whole thing.
That seems a little scarier doing that now. I don't know why.
Oh no. Right, so I think it's a case of which way we're going to work. Are we going to work with it this way on the machine or this way? Jury's out. I think it's wherever the fabric lands for me. That's how I tend to do it. You'll have to decide for yourselves.
Okay.
But just remember to snip as you go along here. When we've got this in place, it'll be about attaching the flap to the main part of the bag, and then we will be adding in the other part of the hardware for the flap onto the bag, and then it'll be all about the lining. So
We've got about 5 more minutes on this demo, and then we're going to start having a look at some of your other bags.
Okay.
But I think this is a really good bit to see, actually, because this is a different way of putting the gusset in, and you may have done it a different way in the past, so it's always good to have options.
Okay. So if I was to say there's a harder way, it's probably the way I'm going to do it now. So let's do it the harder way.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've only pinned the one side, I've clipped that corner, and we've pinned that in place with the little clip. And I'm going to repeat as I did before. I always start in about 1 centimetre. I never really, including in my dressmaking, I rarely start on the edge of a fabric. I prefer, always have done, to work backwards.
Okay, fair enough. So you start about a centimetre in and then stitch backwards to the raw edge.
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
Always have done.
Now Georgina asks, and I think this is a very good question, could the gusset be cut in one piece?
Of course it can.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The reason why I do it in 3 is purely because I love the stitching.
Yeah.
It's really a vanity thing.
Yeah.
Now just to remember, if you're going to make one piece, then it's going to need to be overall a little bit shorter, won't it? Because you won't need those seam allowances.
Yeah. So,
but do as I do, just cut a long piece and then trim the top off when you're done.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah. So I'm coming to the corner, slowing down a little bit, making sure everything's right out of the way. And I'm going to stop at, if I describe like a 1 centimetre from the edge of the raw edge, it's a bit like creating a 1 centimetre square gap.
Okay.
And now I'm going to fight with the fabrics a little bit.
Okay.
I've got my top fabric here, bottom fabric here. I need the bottom fabric to go that way. Oh, nobody can see. Away from me. So if I move it away from me, and the top fabric I'm going to pull towards me, I make sure it's smooth on the underneath. So I'm just using my finger to make sure there's no lumps and bumps just here. It's absolutely fine. Foot down as quick as you can and start sewing again. There we go, we've got past the corner. So before I go much further, I'm just going to trim these corners again. And I'm going to work to the other side.
Fab. That doesn't look hard at all now I see you doing it.
No.
It's just, you know, different methods, and it's what you get used to, isn't it? You know, like Georgina getting in touch and saying, can you cut the gusset piece in one long strip? If that's the way that you're used to doing it, you can carry on doing it like that. But I think it's always good to try a different method, because you do sometimes get a different effect.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the other bag, which I'll be showing you in a moment, I do it with just the one piece. It purely is aesthetics. That's all this is. So I've worked around again. I quickly move those fabrics. You can see how quick I've done that, Stuart.
Yeah.
Got the last little bit to go. And the job's done, so we can critique those corners.
Well, there's no quilt police, there's no bag police.
You're saying that like you're not confident.
No, not at all. No, not at all. What I mean is, you know, like sometimes when I'm teaching a bag making workshop, somebody will say to me, "Oh, come and judge my corners."
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's your bag.
No.
You be the judge. You know, I'm not. You know, I sometimes I'm in the mood for unpicking and getting it as perfect as I can.
Yeah.
Other days, I'm just happy that it's all gone together. You know, it's however you feel on any given day, isn't it?
Yep, sometimes our job in life is to get through the day.
Yeah, it's true.
Say that to new mums. Your job is to keep your child alive. Nothing more, nothing less.
True enough. True enough.
So the flap's going to go on. So you can see how amazing. It's funny because on one of the screens this looks like a bright purple, and it's really not. It's the most delicious pink ever. It is a beautiful magenta colour, I think. So you can see now, if I turn that over, look how different that bag looks.
Yeah.
Which is how this would be my go-to look. But actually, I love it like that.
Well, as a sort of smart wear it with anything, actually the solid pink on the outside is in a way the most versatile, isn't it? Because sometimes you're feeling a bit flowery and other times you're not.
Yeah.
So the smart one colour outside. Lovely. But yeah, I do like the opportunity to just kind of mix it up a little bit.
Yeah. The flap, so just choose a side at this point. If you've not put a pocket on the outer, then it doesn't really matter. But you'll be putting what you want to see against the outer fabric there.
Okay.
And we would just sew that in place. Now, just to mention, I haven't top stitched. I really would be doing that, and I might well not sew this in place just so I can do it.
Oh, okay, fair enough, yeah.
But yeah, because I think that'll look really nice. But the next step on is to make some tabs to go on the side, because you really wanted me to do the strap, didn't you?
Well, I'm just thinking that we might need to move on and have a look at some of your other patterns. What do you think? Yeah, let's have a little look at some of the other patterns. If we can, we'll go back to it. Is that all right?
I can show you without sewing it, so that's absolutely fine.
Fair enough, cool. So, let's start with... Okay, last time you were on Covington. Yes, the Covington Catch-All. The Covington Catch-All. So this is the Covington, isn't it? And this is really fun, I love this. So you've got log cabin patchwork on the outside. How cute is that? In Grello, one of my favourite colour combinations. Love that mustard and grey. And then you've got a zip across the top. And then it's essentially, it's a bag that you can pop everything in. It's like a big pouch. So great for storing. You've got your knitting in there, haven't you?
Yeah, project ready to go. I'm very excited.
Absolutely perfect. But yeah, really lovely. And actually as well, I think that would make a great gift bag. So if you were going to make something, you know, make something lovely, the Covington lovely, and then you could pop a gift inside, and then you've got a bag as well. So there's two different options. Now I want to show you first of all the one that we've just seen, which is that mustard yellow and grey patchwork version. So you get your full pattern first of all, and this pattern will work with your own fabrics at home, scraps, strips, whatever you've got. But you are actually getting a pre-printed panel with this pattern. So rather than having to hunt for lots of different fabrics, you can see here you have got those different greys and silvers, those mustards, and all those different pattern fabrics printed on this panel. You can just cut them out and then create your log cabin patchwork using them. So you get your fabric, you get your pattern as well for £24.99. Now I just want to check, are you also getting some of this seeded natural? You do, don't you? You get 1/2 metre. We've just got one lot here. So you're also getting 1/2 metre of seeded natural, and that's what you're going to use to line the Covington Catch-All.
Yes, so on the panel piece, just to mention as well, each piece, each strip is numbered. Strip 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. So as you follow the pattern, you know that you're using the right fabrics if you want to copy exactly what I've made.
Oh, I can see that too.
The bottom strip is actually deeper in order to create a facing for the inside of the bag.
Okay, nice.
And I was talking about the amount that you have left over. After my last show, Mum took the scraps away and used it to cobble together another full.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So just like sew some of the shorter strips together to get the right length.
Yeah, on those longer lengths.
Patchwork at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm always joining strips of fabric together if I need something longer.
Yeah.
Good tip. So you get your 1/2 metre of seeded natural for your lining, your panel for the outside, and your pattern. Details are on screen. Now we've also got a second option, so still the pattern, still the seeded natural for your lining, but this one is blues and purples. This might be my favourite.
Beautiful.
This is gorgeous. 13th of August if you want a full demo, by the way. And those, look at those, absolutely delicious. Melanie has asked, hi, will the pattern become available on its own in the future? We haven't got the pattern on its own today. Might it be something you do on its own in the future or not?
I do it.
You might, you do?
I do,
okay.
Yeah.
Cool. There we go, purples, blues. Love that combination. Really delicious. So that's the Covington. Now, let's skip forward a little bit. one of the very first shows you did, actually. It was called the Warwick.
Oh yeah.
This is a gorgeous bag, absolutely beautiful. I'll show you that, but let me just grab the sample. Lucy, would you mind just passing me the Warwick, please?
Got a couple of samples here.
Just gorgeous, really lovely.
Oilcloth again.
I was just going to say this is in lovely oilcloth. Thank you.
Both of them. That's the pink, the same as this, and you can see how it's wearing as well.
Yeah. So this one is mustard oilcloth on the outside. Love. You've got a little pocket here. You've got a zip pocket underneath. You've got a long pocket here, perfect for things like knitting needles. Which I know you've photographed the bag with, so great as a project bag. On the other side, a really great slip pocket, and then look, I love the profile of this bag. It's really smart, but look, simple to achieve, no shaping required. It's just some magnetic fastenings either side, just to bring that bag in, so you can have it kind of pinched together, or a wider profile if you prefer. And there's also a snap fastener inside. 13th of May, if you want to watch the full demo. This is also really lovely. Wow, this is a heavyweight version. This is beautiful. Same bag. That is so smart. Love that, Goosey Lucy. Beautiful fabrics. Fab. All right, so that's the Warwick. Now then, I also want to just introduce the Stratford bag as well, because that shares a couple of features, doesn't it? And this is the Stratford. Ooh, yum. 9th of July, if you want to see a demo of this. Now this one has got some ripstop in the base and also in the top. You've got, now this is very, very clever. Look, you've got a pocket here, but that pocket is also another pocket here and another pocket here. That is very clever, Lucy.
Same on the Warwick.
Very clever. Oh, I like that. I like that. And then you've got that gorgeous rope strap. So you could wear this over your shoulder, but I'm assuming you could also wear this kind of backpack style.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. Lush. Really nice. That's called the Stratford bag. So we've got both of those patterns available on their own if you'd like to use your own fabrics and create your own version. Now, Lucy, we were just talking then about sort of common features. Do you mind just talking us through that? The Stratford and the Warwick.
Yeah. So the Stratford and the Warwick bag, those front panels, they both share, let me just grab this if I may, they both share this element here. So this bag here too has this big pocket down here, which I keep my little knitting needles in as well. So I just want to quickly show you, if I may.
Yes,
Is
please.
this a good time to show you as quickly as I can how to do this? If you want a slower version, please do go back to the previous programmes to see. There is a very slight change between the Stratford and the Warwick though, and that is that we add a different sort of finish here to create a back lining for this pocket on the Stratford. So let me just take you through. Now the zip I've got here, because we've kind of just popped something together out the back to do this, it's probably not quite long enough, but it'll give you the general principle of the thing. So we have, that's our flap. I've got to remember what's what now. That's one of the bases. That's one of the bases, so I don't need those just yet. Okay. If I get this wrong, apologies, but here we go. So, working with this bottom pocket first, just here, sorry.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, so we've got a lining piece. I realise they look the same, but we need to create that finish there so we can get a zip in. So in order to do that, this is going to be the piece that I see. I'm just going to flip it upwards. The zip would normally be longer, and then you can trim it down. That would be absolutely fine. I'm not aiming for tidy here. I'm aiming for putting this together so people understand, okay?
Yes, and in fairness, we asked you to do this as a little extra demo, which is why there's that hot pink zip, which looks a little out of place with the rusty coloured lining. But we thank you for doing that demo. We just thought, Lucy, while you were here, and you are a bag making expert, that it would be wonderful to kind of get everything out of you that we could, all those lovely tips, and just all learn something today. few extra tips and ideas?
I think it's just a day for just relaxing, taking it all in a little bit. It's a big change in the world, and sewing's my peaceful place. I don't know about you, Stuart.
Well, I noticed as well your company name is So Pretty, So Mindful, and I know that you talked earlier on about the sort of role that sewing and crafting has in your health and your well-being and how important it is.
Absolutely, I think it's essential. We're not a shy family in saying that our family has gone through something a little different, I suppose, in that my eldest son does have additional needs, or as he prefers to be called, so I go with that, special.
Okay.
He thinks of himself as special. I mean, he certainly is special because he's mine.
Yeah.
Just mentioned, so I flipped it over, and now I'm just going to attach the other piece in the same place, just here, and then I'm going to repeat sew. And I talked about journaling earlier on. I talked about YouTubing. YouTubing became much more about sharing what it's like to live with a Brady, I suppose. What it's like to have a child that does need that little bit extra. And he's very happy for me to do that too. I always say this, he gives his full consent.
Yeah.
We don't talk about personal things, that's fine. But yeah, it's important, and I like to encourage other people to feel like they can come to me. It's a safe space, it's a shared space, and we can reflect together.
Yeah, well, like we are here as well, you know, you can ask questions, I always say there are no silly questions, there's no such thing as a stupid question, apart from do I want a cup of tea? That's a silly question to ever ask me. But
oh, I do.
Oh, Michael, those dulcet tones. Yes, please. Always.
Oh, yes, please.
Have a biscuit with this one, please. All bets are off today. But you know, and it is lovely, isn't it, to sometimes be in that forum where you can just ask anything, and because sometimes we feel like, am I the only person that doesn't get this?
Yeah.
Am I the only person that doesn't know how to do that? Because everyone else is just nodding. And I certainly remember that very, very strongly when I was at university in lectures, feeling like I was the only person that didn't have a clue what was going on.
That's right. So I've attached the first piece and it's now fully lined. It's not neat, like I say, and I would normally be pressing now and I would be top stitching straight across. I'm not going to do that today. I've then got these two pieces here, and there's one that's slightly bigger than another. That's because it's a lining, and I'm going to come to that in just a moment. Okay. But first of all, we've got our bottom pocket. We now need to create that top pocket, and we're going to attach it to this one free zip edge. Yeah. So I'm just going to open it, and I'm going to flip it, and we're going to stitch it in place.
Now, when you're sewing your zips, are we zip footing or are we regular footing?
I normally use a zip foot, yes.
Okay.
Like I say, today's
You've got
about
a zip foot with that if you want it. But it's nice to know, isn't it? Sometimes you can just use a regular foot.
All I've done is I've moved my needle far left.
Right.
And it's doing what I need it to do right now.
Oh, I want to read out a little message from Teresa, if I may. Teresa's got in touch on Facebook to say, good morning, sending big hugs to all the Sewing Street family on this sad day in our collective history. Sewing is my safe space and it's where I plan to be today. It's a really lovely message, thank you. And you're part of our Sewing Street family too, so we send those hugs and that love back to you as well. And it is, you know, so pretty, so mindful. When you're sewing, when you're crafting, knitting, any of these things, it does give your brain and your emotions room to process.
It does.
Doesn't it?
It does.
Some people talk of it as a distraction, but I'm not sure whether it is necessarily a distraction. I tend to think about things more when I'm crafting, but things just feel calmer and more balanced, gentle. I don't know.
Some people might say, what is mindfulness? You know, when we talk about yoga, We know what yoga is, but what is real mindfulness? How do we achieve mindfulness? So if I was to interpret mindfulness, just to let you know, this large piece, just so I can talk and say, I'm now going to sew it across the top here.
Okay.
So it's right side to right side.
Very intrigued.
When I think of mindfulness, I think about it as being allowing and giving myself permission to switch off to the outside noise and to purposefully engage in my own thoughts.
Right.
Now that doesn't sound very profound, I don't suppose. However, how often do we think we're thinking about something and then all of a sudden, I need to change that. All of a sudden, our mind drifts elsewhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
The mindfulness for me
the answer we were looking for
is about drawing myself straight back to that moment to think and to consider and to reflect. And that actually isn't easy to do. It's really, really not easy to do.
Right.
But it allows me to take my memories back. So I think a lot about my gran.
Yeah.
I talk about my gran a lot in my blogging. And in my mindfulness, that's where I go. I go to her.
Yeah.
I did a video recently actually on my blog where I invite you to come and listen to me go in the mindful process, but I recorded myself. I just, instead of thinking it, I talked out loud as what was coming into my head.
You know, you're mentioning about your grandmother. That's something we've all been talking about this morning here at Sewing Street, how the loss of our Queen is really, for a lot of us, has made us think about our relatives perhaps that we have lost, where we felt that very personal connection. A lot of us feel a very personal connection to Her Majesty, but it's also made us think about perhaps our own grandmothers or mothers we may or may not have lost, and you know, it does make us reflect on that too.
Absolutely.
Now I noticed with that lining piece you've folded a little seam allowance at the top.
I did.
And then folded the whole thing down.
So just to take you back, we sewed that we ironed the top. Let me move this way slightly. We ironed the top upwards. Now underneath this we've got our 1 centimetre seam allowance, and it's all gone upwards. See? I then took the other edge and I've sewn it down by approximately 1 centimetre. Now, if I flip this down to cover that edge of the zip tape there, and I iron it, like so. If I now flip it,
oh, look at that!
We've got a little reveal.
Binding.
Now, if that was a lovely brown zip or something, it'd look great. But it's about creating what I call a lip. And at this point, we would then top stitch this in place to keep it nice and comfortable. Now, remember I mentioned we would be top stitching here. Let me quickly do it, because I think we've got time, hopefully.
We do have time, we do have time.
Fabulous, that's music to my ears.
Yeah.
It's not often you hear that. So I did complete that stage. Now, we would top stitch up here like I say, but I won't do. I'm just going to pop some little discreet pins in there for now. This is the bit that always stumps people. They think, well, how am I going to make that happen?
Yeah.
So just literally follow the instructions, trust the instructions.
Trust the process.
Trust the process. We're going to pin that, but we are not going to sew it.
Okay.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Slow down, cowboy.
Something like that,
Yeah.
Right, we're now left with, see that's all wonky, but don't worry. We're now left with these pieces here, which become the flap. I'm not sure I entirely need to make those to get my point across. So let's just pretend.
Okay.
Let's pretend. Do you remember that programme?
Let's pretend. I don't think. Well, maybe, I don't know.
Let's pretend it's a shaped flap. So we would just be creating that little arch. You know how we did with the Lillington bag that I mentioned? Doing the same thing just here. So now we've got these components here. Let me just move this a second. Oopsie. And now we're left with the flap and these two pieces here. I'm calling one a base, I think, and one's a lining.
Okay.
Now, one is longer than another. Yours will be beautifully ironed. We take our, trying to think now, shorter piece here, and we're going to load it up. So we want to see the nice side here. It's terrible when nothing's square. I should stop forcing the matter here. It really doesn't matter.
But it's about the principle,
it is the
isn't it,
principle,
of layering
absolutely.
pockets.
So you're laying that down on there, so that's nice. And then let me show you. Now, when I top stitch along here, I've now separated that pocket from that pocket.
Yeah, light bulb moment there.
Yeah, and we're going to quickly stitch it into place.
It's so automatic, isn't it, when you sew a zip in to top stitch either side. This is where I know we all say it, we all miss this. Read the pattern cover to cover before you start.
Yeah.
A couple of times even.
So now that element is all done.
Okay.
Okay, so now we've got a proper zip pocket here.
Yeah.
Nice and tidy. We base stitch this to now hold it in place to keep it nice and tidy. And our flap, let me tuck it under a little bit. In fact, it doesn't really matter if I just cut a load off.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be narrower so you can see how it would fit, because it will be more like that size.
Right.
And in. And then what you would do is you would take your final piece, which is longer, and you would, I'm just trying to think how I did this now. Oh yeah, that's right. See, I'm doubting myself. It's crazy, isn't it? You would stitch all of this in place all the way around.
Okay.
And leave a hole down the
Leave a little
side.
gap. Okay, good.
And then you would turn it through.
Yeah.
So then you've just got one complete component, as it were. And then it would have this little lip then, just up here, you see. It would look nice.
I love that feature, actually. It's
There.
ever so cleverly put together.
And then what you've got now is a lined big pocket that goes all the way down.
So you then just top stitch it to the panel on the bag.
That's exactly
and you've
right.
got pockets, but also the back of the pocket becomes a pocket in itself.
Exactly.
Super clever idea. Love it, Lucy. Love, love, love it.
Thank you.
Oh, do you know, it's been really worth taking the time today, and thank you so much for doing that extra demo for us, just to learn something new, isn't it? Now that's for the Stratford, but it also works for the Warwick as well, learning those skills. The Warwick is about to sell out. It is an absolute doozy of a bag. Sorry, that was the chair. It is a beautiful bag, really lovely, really smart. Love that.
The back pocket on the Warwick bag, if I may, do you feel it's quite firm, that
Very
pocket?
firm.
The reason is, and particularly if you look on my other bag, it's because I do choose, it all came out of me wanting to learn to knit at the end of last year.
Yeah.
And I asked the community, the knitting community online, what they do and don't like from their bags.
Yeah.
And they told me that really what they want to keep in the bags, etc. But people were really hating how their patterns tend to get ruined.
Right.
So I created this pocket with the Decavillin that we talked about earlier on.
Yeah.
So it's a bit stiffer. And look at this. These are my
For a
patterns.
knitting pattern.
Paper, not at all damaged.
Oh,
Keeps
I'm
it
old
perfect.
school as well. I know some people download onto their phones and things, but I
No.
like a good old-fashioned paper
No,
pattern.
no.
Circle the size you're making,
No,
tick things
do you
off.
have a 5-bar chart as well? Not these number counters on your phones and things.
Oh, absolutely,
I love them.
absolutely.
But
Although I did my own personal favourite now, I saw somebody who, like, when you've got to knit 40 rows, they actually write all 40 rows down, and then they actually tick them off.
Yeah.
So they see them disappear rather than adding on.
Yeah.
Love that. Now, we're just going to have a look at a couple of more of your bags before we finish. Are we going to do the Kinross or the backpack? Let's do Kinross case. I love these. These are really appealing to the, oh, I want something to do this afternoon. What can I make? I know I'll make the Kinross case. Now, this seems to come in different sizes, Lucy. Is that right?
It does. The pattern talks you through how to measure your device. Now, when I say device, In the smaller ones that I've got is actually for sunglasses.
Yeah,
So you
that
can
one
put
for
all the
sunnies.
mobile phones,
Yep.
if you've got a Kindle, if you've got an iPad.
Opportunity to use up those scraps.
Absolutely.
Those little precious bits of liberty.
Selvages.
Yes. You mentioned the Ruby Star Society
Yeah.
selvage. Now you know how to use it.
There
This
you
is
go.
gorgeous. Or it could be little really precious bits that you can't bear to throw away.
But doesn't that
Love
cork look good?
Oh, the cork looks fantastic. And we've got that smart flap. We learned how to do that earlier on. We've got a bit of simple patchwork. This is great. I love it.
Yeah.
And also this might work for something like, you know, a really big pair of dressmaking shears.
Yeah.
And a few other tools could go in there. Very adaptable.
We forgot to mention, Stuart, that on the Stratford bag as well, it's got a clever little bottom on it. We like a clever bottom.
We do love a clever bottom.
If you head over to the YouTube channel,
Yeah.
there is a video on how to do the clever bottom of the Stratford
Oh,
bag.
okay, cool. Don't forget, Lucy has a fantastic YouTube channel.
And there's a tutorial on of how to make the bag from earlier today.
Brilliant. So the Kinross case, we'll just pop details on screen for you. Just great, very adaptable, lovely base pattern. It's exactly what I do when I'm designing a bag. I'm thinking, yes, this as it is, but where else could you take it? Is it easy to resize? Is it easy to adapt? And this really is. Very giftable as well. I'm thinking Christmas.
Yes.
Very, very giftable. Look, you actually get those 3 different sizes of tab closure. Nice. That's the Kinross. Now we've also got the Northumberland backpack. Now, may I just grab a couple of the backpacks, please, Lucy?
One with a 1 clasp and one with a 2 clasp.
Yum. Oh, this is lovely. Now check this out. I'm going to show you this one. Yeah, that's terrific. So you've got backpack straps, so you can wear it on your back. Nice little carry handle on the top, if you just want to carry it around like that. Couple of clasps at the front, and then inside. Oh, we've got that little nice pinching in at the sides as well, if we want it. That's a really nice smart feature. Big zip pocket. You always put lots of lovely pockets in your... Look at that. Love it. Poppered pockets here. Those are terrific too. And then that big space inside again with another zip pocket, a slip pocket too. This is a great bit of work, isn't it? This is a fun project.
I love the Northumberland, I really do.
Me too.
It's all about back to school, back to college, university, that one.
Right, yes, yes, I see that. I see that. And also a great work bag.
Absolutely. Again, my laptop fits. People always want to know about laptops, that's why I always mention it. Although last time it was, will I get 2 folders in, and Hannah came running through.
And they did.
They did indeed.
And they did. So that's one version, and then look at this lovely version. So this is like a sort of heavy canvas fabric, and it's just got 1 strap at the front. You can put 1 or 2, but that looks really lovely, doesn't it? Absolutely gorgeous and so professional looking. Lush. £9.99 for that. Really nice. Details are on screen again. Oh, pop it on. Let me see it on.
This was my first. This was like, you know, you always have one that, I don't know what you call it, the original.
Yeah.
This was the original. Because when I'm
Firstborn.
when I'm designing my bags, I rarely go to paper. I just make, and I make it as I go, and this is what came out.
Yeah.
And I just really like this fabric.
It's gorgeous.
I tend
And then
to
do you
use
have to reverse engineer, and how did I do
something
that?
like that. I just hope and pray I can remember what I'm doing.
I know. Oh, I think we're very similar people, Lucy. Recognising myself in you. But if you want to get the Northumberland backpack pattern, details are on screen. Lovely bag to make. Oh, Lucy, it's been so lovely to spend the morning with you.
Thank you.
And thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for staying for a bit longer as well.
More than welcome.
Yeah, it's been a great morning. And lots of love to you. Do you know when you're on next?
October the something.
October the something. Well, I'll put that all over my diary for October.
Thank you.
And then I won't
have
miss
just
you.
finished the first sample of the next pattern.
Is it a bag?
Yeah.
I'm so there. I'm there for it. I am there for it. Thank you, and safe journey home.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Lucy. Oh, lovely. All right. So, loads of different patterns that you might like to have a look at. Pop on our website, have a little look there. We are going to go to a little break now, and then when we come back, we're going to be looking at a roundup of kits, and we're going to be doing some deals on those as well. So stick around, spend that last hour with me here on Sewing Street.
Hello everyone, I'm Delphine Brooks. I've been part of the Sewing Street family now for over a year, and it's been the most incredible journey so far. Some of you may already know that I like all things sewing, anything from quilting to toy making, needle felting, and of course applique, which is my favourite. The best thing about being part of the show is being able to share with you my imagination and bringing you new ideas and new designs and patterns, and seeing how you interpret those designs and make your own work, and then sharing your images of those is the most rewarding part for me. I'm currently working on lots of new ideas and exciting projects that I cannot wait to bring to the show and share with you all. But in the meantime, take care everyone and happy sewing.
Follow Sewing Street on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with what's coming up on the show, as well as being the first to know about our amazing offers. Get involved with our competitions that are exclusive to social media, and pick up some top tips from us too.
Missed the live show? Don't worry, we recorded it for you. Never miss out on your favourite presenters, guests and makes ever again. Head on over to our YouTube pages to watch back the day's live show and enjoy your favourite demos over and over again. Subscribe and turn on the bell notification so you never miss a show or video ever again.
Sewing Street have our very own app. You can now watch and shop from anywhere. Simply download the app from your app store onto your smartphone or tablet, then log in or create an account, and you're done. You can watch us live from anywhere, browse all our recently played items and pre-orders so you never miss out on any show deals, and message the studio to say hello at any time. And remember, you can check out as many times as you want and only pay 1 P&P all day.
If you're a Sewing Street or Yarn Lane customer, no matter how many times you check out in one day, you will only pay 1 postage and packaging. So don't wait to add the item you want to your basket and check out. You will only pay 1 P&P even if you check out multiple times in one day.
We know that shopping online can be a confusing and sometimes daunting task. And sometimes all you want to do is talk to a human being. Our family-run customer service team are on call 24/7. Full of friendly, warm-hearted individuals, all trained to make your shopping experience as easy and enjoyable as possible. Not only will they take your order, they'll also help and guide you on your shopping journey, so you never miss out.
Stuck for ideas for the perfect gift? Why not get them a gift card? You can buy Sewing Street and Yarn Lane gift cards loaded up with anything from £10 to £500. Shop our gift cards online at www.sewingstreet.com or www.yarnlane.com, or purchase them via our UK call centre on 0800 001 44 33.
Are you a fan of Sewing Street and Yarn Lane? Why not join our growing Facebook fans pages? Just search Sewing Street Fans and Yarn Lane TV Fans on Facebook and click Join Group. It's that simple. Never miss out on the latest news and updates from our presenters and guest designers, special offers and plenty of chat with your fellow fans. Share photos of your makes, ask for advice, interact with your favourite guests and presenters, and be a part of the ever-growing sewing and yarn community. See you there!
Keep up to date with what's on Sewing Street, as well as all the latest news and special offers by signing up to our email newsletters. Head on over to www.sewingstreet.com, scroll down to the bottom of the homepage, type in your email address, click the envelope, and you're done. Never miss out on the latest news and special offers ever again.
We have some exciting news. Sewing Street has been nominated in the Best of Craft Awards and the British Sewing Awards for 2022. We're so amazed that 2 years have flown since Sewing Street started, and we couldn't have done it all without our Sewing Street family. Thanks to our presenters and guests for entertaining and inspiring us every day, and for all of our viewers for tuning in for all the fun. We've been lucky enough to be nominated for 2 awards this year, which are the most loved TV shopping channel at the Best of Crafts Awards and the best sewing social media account at the British Sewing Awards. To vote, please head to our website to find out all the details you need to get involved. Thank you for your support and votes.
Missed the live show? Don't worry, we recorded it for you. Never miss out on your favourite presenters, guests and makes ever again. Head on over to our YouTube pages to watch back the day's live show and enjoy your favourite demos over and over again. Subscribe and turn on the bell notification so you never miss a show or video ever again.
Have you heard about all the different ways you can shop on Sewing Street? You can shop on our website sewingstreet.com, and you can also order by phone by calling our friendly UK customer service team. Just call 0800 001 4433.
And don't forget about the Sewing Street app. Here you can shop all of the Sewing Street products as well as watch the live shows from anywhere. You can download the app onto your smartphone or your tablet by simply searching Sewing Street in your app store. And one final thing, no matter how many times you check out on Sewing Street in one day, you will only pay 1 postage and packaging. Happy shopping!
Follow Sewing Street on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with what's coming up on the show, as well as being the first to know about our amazing offers. Get involved with our competitions that are exclusive to social media. And pick up some top tips from us too.
Keep up to date with what's on Sewing Street, as well as all the latest news and special offers by signing up to our email newsletters. Head on over to www.sewingstreet.com, scroll down to the bottom of the homepage, type in your email address, click the envelope, and you're done. Never miss out on the latest news and special offers ever again.
Stuck for ideas for the perfect gift? Why not get them a gift card? You can buy Sewing Street and Yarn Lane gift cards loaded up with anything from £10 to £500. Shop our gift cards online at www.sewingstreet.com or www.yarnlane.com, or purchase them via our UK call centre on 0800 001 44 33.
Hello my friends, welcome back to the last hour here on Sewing Street. Thank you for your company this morning. We've really appreciated all of the lovely messages that you have sent in today, and just you being there too. Now, in our last hour, we are going to be looking at some kits. Well, I say some kits. We've got lots of lovely kits and lots of lovely quilts that go with them, which is always fun, isn't it, to look at the quilts? It's a bit of a show and tell. We're also going to be doing price reductions on all of the kits, and I think percentage-wise is 20%, around 20% for each of them. It's a really good saving to have. So stay tuned and see if you can pick yourself up a lovely kit, maybe to absorb yourself in. Now we're going to start with one of my favourite fabric companies, which is Tilda, and a beautiful quilt that they did. This is the the Tilda floral wreath. It's such a pretty quilt, this. Now, my lovely friend Deputy Joan helped me with the original sample for this, and it's a really, really beautiful quilt. Now, I wonder if I can, Michael's quite shy, but whether he can just help me a little bit. Just a hand, it's all we need. Just a hand.
I'll give you a hand.
Okay, good. Did you hear? It's like a volcano rumbling, isn't it? But beautiful, beautiful. Can you just sort of see a little higher, that wreath there? Beautiful flowers and leaves. And it's all picked out in gorgeous Tilda fabric. And it's against a backdrop of Moda grunge. So the purple in the background is a Moda grunge, and so is the binding, which is this gorgeous sort of deep gold colour. Absolutely lovely. So that's the and it's made using the Garden Life range, which was a lovely summery range. So you've got those lovely summer florals, gorgeous shades of blues, greens. There's some gorgeous kind of gold in there as well, and pinks. We're going to crash the price to £167.99. You're saving there £42 and change. It's a big quilt too. It's 180 centimetres by 197 centimetres, which in old money is huge. Really lovely and beautifully packaged too. You get all of your fabrics in there, and I think, let me just move this over, if I remember rightly, you get 14 different fabrics in the box, and of course everything is beautifully packaged as well, and I think mostly you get half meters. Let me just open this up. And really easy quilt to make as well. It is stitch and flip. So I'll just open this up. You get your pattern, of course, as well, and that's the sort of full arrangement, if you like, of those floral wreaths, made up of individual units. So the quilt builds really nicely. And then let me just show you inside. You've got some gorgeous fabrics in here. If you get one that looks like a squirrel's been at it, then blame me. I am the squirrel. Right. Oh, and so giftable as well, because when you open that box, it really is the quilter's equivalent of a box of chocolates, although I am quite keen on a box of chocolates too, just for the record. And then you get all of these beautiful fabrics and big pieces of all of these different fabrics. They're so pretty. You've got kind of nasturtium flowers and extravagant peonies. There are some beautiful poppy prints. I don't know if you can just about see that lovely poppy print there. Purples, golds, pinks, blues. And there, look, is that beautiful Moda grunge, which has been used for the binding. And then the purple Moda grunge, which has been used for the background. It's a beautifully put together quilt kit, absolutely stunning. Lot of fabric, a big finished quilt, and more than £42 saving. So really lovely, great deal that one. We love our Tilda. Oh, love having a glamorous assistant. It works. It's working. Next up, let's do Breeze Block. It's like a voyage of discovery. Breeze Blocks. Oh, now I love this, and I love the finished quilt. Let me just show you this. Really different, this. Now I think it's this one. Is it this one here? No, it's not. I think it is that one. It looks like it anyway. A label on the back of the quilt. Of course there is. Let me have a look. No, that's heading south. So that's not the right one. We might not have that quilt. We might not have that quilt, I don't think we do, but it is really beautiful, really modern, and I love how you've got those solids and then you've got the pattern fabric in the background, because usually we do it the other way round, don't we? Let's go under £100 on that one, can we? Yeah, let's. Awesome, £95.99. Now I'll just show you what you get inside. So you're getting this gorgeous print fabric, and this is going to form the background to your breeze blocks, and then those breeze blocks are in all of these different gorgeous modern solids. Really striking. I think that's lovely, and it's a lovely modern, cool, calm colour palette as well. Isn't that stunning? That's your finished quilt, breeze blocks. Size-wise, it's 142 by 175. Let me grab a tape measure. They're never long enough for me though. 142 is 56, and then 175 is 70, 72, something like that. So I would say a good kind of double bed topper. Yeah, it's gorgeous. Can we see the picture again? There it is. Yeah, it's just a bit different, isn't it? Would make a gorgeous child's quilt as well. You know, if you want to make something that's going to last them for years and years. Yeah, now the designer behind these fabrics do a lot of interior design. So it's quite sort of cutting edge, I think. Yeah, very nice, very nice. Heading south, yeah. Now heading south, we definitely do have the finished quilt. And again, so this is just showing it you side on, because you get a little bit more of a sense of the pattern, okay? But it's like sort of stacked bricks, isn't it? I love that. So you've got all the patterned fabrics within the piecing, and then you've got that cream in the background. What's lovely about these designs is you've got lots of different sort of jungle animals. You've got cheetahs, and you've got exotic birds in there as well. Really lovely that. £119.99, but the price is coming down, of course. Finish size again, 142 by 175, so same size as the previous one, breeze blocks. This is £95.99, and you get all of your fabrics and your pattern in the kit. Great quilt, that, really like that. Now then, let's see what else we've got. Tickets to the tropics. Now we don't have this finished quilt, but this, oh we do. Yes we do, yes we do. Lovely. If you have that, that's it. Have the short end. That's gorgeous. Look at that. Now I'm just going to kind of flip it up a little bit onto the table, just so you can get a sense of that quilt. Isn't that beautiful? And I love the palette as well. It's kind of soft orange and Air Force blue, a soft jade. There's also a kind of chartreuse in there, excuse me, and just a soft blue as well. There are some lovely stripes in there, which really give a sort of sense of movement and dynamism in that quilt. Gorgeous. We're going to take £34 off the price of that. So £135.99 for that, and size-wise 176 by 207. You can get split pays if you want. There are 3 of them of 45.33, which is going to be your new project. Have you decided yet? Now then, those are all from one fabric collection. Let's look at a different fabric collection. Oh, the ticket to the tropics. Oh yeah, of course, yeah, let's stick with that. Yeah. There are some lovely fabrics in here, and I think you see the fabrics better as a whole piece, don't you, to begin with anyway. You might think, well, actually, I just want those fabrics because they are gorgeous. We don't sell them by the half metre. That's lovely, isn't it? Really nice, very interiors. little cockatoos. And oh, lovely, really like that. That's a sort of stylized leopard. And on the sort of wasabi golden yellow background, that's gorgeous. Some florals. Oh, this is cute. Quite rotund chameleons. Yeah, but all displaying different colours. Beautiful, really like that. That's a great one, isn't it? And I love this sort of vertical stripe in the tree trunk. And then lovely stylized flower. These are gorgeous fabrics, really liking these. Never seen these before. And then I'm just going to open this out because that is such a beautiful piece of fabric. Like the colours too. Isn't that gorgeous? Gosh, I'm thinking now I just want the fabrics. I might make the pattern, but I might just have the fabrics because they're lovely and different. You've got, now this you're going to use for one of the borders. And then look at this amazing stripe. Now this is used for a lot of the piecing of the triangles. And striped fabrics are ones that we often avoid when we're making half square triangles because of the sort of this way and that. But actually it's used to really, really good effect in this quilt. That is beautiful. It's almost like a woven, isn't it? It looks like a woven design. Yummy. And then of course you've got all of your solid for the background to your piecing. Very nicely put together, that. I like it. I like it. I feel like I always need to put things back neatly in these kits because they're so beautiful. There we go. All tied up with ribbon, of course, and you get your pattern. Yes, now let's grab Sweet Baby. I'm just going to give that to you. Now then, let me just show you this Sweet Baby quilt. Now, what's cool about this is to make a, well, it says baby quilt, but I think most of us, if we were talking baby quilt, we might do something that was about 30 by 40, you know, kind of cot size, baby size. But actually this would last a child up till they were probably 3 or 4 very nicely, because it's 51 inches by 67 inches. So really quite a considerable size. It's really rather lovely, isn't it? Now what's really cool about this is that all of the fabrics for the pieced blocks is already cut for you. So you can see here in the corners that you've got some squares there. Basically all of these inside, everything's cut out, not your borders. So you've got a border here and a border here and your binding. Those are whole pieces of fabric, but all of your fabrics for your piecing are already cut out. It's a quick quilt, it is ready to sew, which is really rather fabulous, isn't it? You can just jump straight in. You've also got your full pattern there as well for $95.99. Now, like I say, I think Sweet Baby quilt makes it sound like a little kind of cot quilt, but it's actually really sizable. It's 51 inches by 67 inches. So it's a good size and it's going to last a child for a good few years. And would also really work nicely over the back of a sofa or a chair as well when they're a bit older. Now, thinking of children as well, let's look at the Morse code quilt. I love, love, love the fabric in this kit. Let me just show you the finished quilt, because this is so cool. And actually, from a distance, I just think it's a really cool looking quilt. And I didn't realise when I first saw the quilt that it is, I suppose you might call a juvenile print on the fabric, but then I'll show you the fabrics as well. But you have kind of modes of transport. There are lorries, there are police cars, there are trucks, and caravans, I think maybe buses, I think there's maybe a cement mixer in there, and there's fabric with aeroplanes on as well. Now, of course, some children, some adults are absolutely wild for transport and all that kind of thing, so it would make the most perfect quilt for them. Again, it's a really big quilt. In centimetres, it's 145 by 175. So that is going to go on a twin bed really generously, or you could throw it over a double bed too. So this isn't a quilt that's going to last a child until they're 4 or 5. It's going to last them, well, forever, really. Let me open the box up anyway and show you the really gorgeous fabrics inside. It's $111.99, yeah? So you get your pattern, simple piecing, it's 9 patches and then pieced sashing, which is strip pieced. Now then, let me just grab the fabric out. You'll see someone's been much more sensible than I ever am and opened one end. But let's just take all the fabrics out. So look at how much fun these fabrics are. You've got these kind of road signs, traffic lights, keep right, stop. You've got this fabric right here that has got kind of dumper trucks and you know, soil earth movers they call them, don't they? This one I just love. I think that is beautiful and I could use that for so many different things really. It's a gorgeous kind of grid background, then with little sort of stylized aeroplanes on it. That would make such a smart bag or pouches with. Modes of transport on green. It's a really fun modern palette as well, isn't it? Nice and fresh. Love this yellow version of the same print. Different modes of transport there. Love this super stylish caravan. I'd like a weekend away in that. Then you've got modes of transport on white. You've more of that because you're going to use more of that. And it's a really cool one, isn't it? Get a real sense of the print close up, but then in the actual quilt, I don't know, it kind of looks different. And then all of this yellow, now this is cool, isn't it? It's got this kind of road markings going across diagonally, but it's just a really beautiful bit of fabric. And then, that's special, a kind of metal grid fabric. So it could have been a plain, but I think that print is really, really interesting. I like that a lot. So all the fabric's there to do the top and the binding, of course. And there's that gorgeous finished quilt. £28 saving, the price $111.99. Okay, let me pass that along. Thank you. Now, Kit Roundup wouldn't be Kit Roundup without a bit of Tula Pink. Fancy fantasy. Fancy fantasy. This is a really beautiful quilt. Really needs to be seen. That's the back.
That's the back. They both look beautiful.
They do look beautiful. But it's a Lone Star or a Bethlehem Star quilt, but made out of Tula Pink fabric, which makes it incredibly special. The pattern in itself is a very special pattern, and it's more of an intermediate pattern, but you strip piece long strips of fabric together, and then you're going to use a ruler to cut them at a 45-degree angle. So you're not cutting out individual diamonds, you're cutting out strips of fabric and strip piecing. Now, of course, you get a huge amount of fabric because it's a big quilt. It's 215 centimetres square. Now, in old money, can we just check what 215 centimetres is, please? But it's a big quilt. And we have demoed this, haven't we? About 84 inches square. So that's going to sit beautifully on a double bed or a queen bed. 10th of July. 10th of July. I seem to remember doing it, I think, was it with Delphine? I think it might have been with Delphine. You get your full pattern and then look at all these fabrics. I mean, I've got a real soft spot for Tula Pink and I absolutely love her fabrics. They're so clever, so quirky. I love the fact that she draws all the individual elements herself. Everything starts out life as pencil, pen and ink drawings that are coloured. You're saving 20% on this quilt kit and you get a huge amount of fabric in there. I'll call you later. The names are great. Beautiful, love that. Little rainbow. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous range of fabric. This ombre is lovely. So this actually grades, look, from a deep coral right through across to a soft yellow. Just beautiful, that. If you crash that again, $199.99. You can? Yeah. Go on. Yeah. $179.99. Thank you. Every little helps. And then we've also got this gorgeous pink to purple ombre. I love an ombre fabric, and you're going to use that, I think, where do you use that? In the piecing. In the piecing. And then look, the background is not a plain fabric at all. It is, this is Mick Jaguar, isn't it? Mick Jaguar, this fabric. So it features these pastel jaguars. How fabulous is that? Absolutely superb. I'd like making that quilt. Beautiful. Again, as I say, you're not cutting and piecing diamonds. You're sewing long strips together, you're cutting at a 45-degree angle, and then you are joining those strips together. You've got a little bit of set in here, seam, here, here and here, and a little bit here, but it is very straightforward. And whoever it was, and I think it was Delphine, did a fantastic job showing how to do those setting corners. So watch back. Might have been Delphine, it might have been Wendy Orlando. I've had a sleep since then. All right, I'm going to pass this down. Gorgeous. Love that. Thank you. Now we've got an Anna Maria Horner. Fly with me? Yeah. Yummy. I will. Now this is called Fly With Me, and it's a quilt designed by Anna Maria Horner. I think that's absolutely spectacular. Now you might see curves when you look at that quilt. Do you see those curves that sort of interconnect? That makes it sound difficult, doesn't it? There's no curved piecing in this quilt at all. How's that for a price crash too? $199.99. I'll open the box up and just show you the fabrics because they are spectacular. Now this is like a lovely warm version of the quilt kit. You have got these gorgeous kind of pinks and oranges in there. Pink and orange together is one of my absolute favourite combinations. Oh, yummy, look at that. So you've got these beautiful hot pinks, orange with pink mixed together. You've got this amazing checkerboard of pinks and yellows. A beautiful floral there. That's delicious, isn't it? That really hot pink base and then turquoise, almost like little apples printed on there. And then love this print, which is almost like a sort of a ticking stripe in the background or a striped background. And then it's like it's been overprinted with a floral motif. Now I know that Anna is really keen on that kind of overprinted look. You've got a big block print style stripe there as well. Just lovely. I think you need to see the fabrics, don't you, to appreciate what's in that quilt. And you get your pattern as well. Now you are working a little bit with templates in this, so you're going to cut a few templates. So if you're going for this, I would recommend you get yourself either some Mylar template plastic or something like freezer paper. Also works really, really well for templates that you can iron onto your fabrics and then rotary cut. Okay, I'm going to pass that down. Thank you. Now, same quilt but different fabrics. This one has a cooler look to it. It is featuring more of the greens, but then it's mixed with purples and pinks, which really brings it to life. How cool is that? Absolutely lovely. I'm just going to open up the box. So same price drop. And let's see what you get inside. Again, it's the deliciousness of that big chunk of fabric in there that you're then going to use to create this beautiful quilt. And it's a real heirloom quilt, this. Wow, just look at that. You've got those beautiful hot pinks and purples. The stripe design this time is in turquoise and lime. That is amazing, love that print. Again, pinks, and there's some blues in there. Wonderful hot pink and lilac print. That's lovely. Oh, let me just get that piece out. Oh, I need to see that bit close up. That's gorgeous. Wow, look at that. That is really stunning, isn't it? Really beautiful. Has almost in the background, don't you think, almost a bit of a William Morris feel in the background, but then brought up to date with the sort of colours, and it's slightly asymmetrical. Yeah, almost like a block print, like a wood block print, but then with these more kind of realistic flowers sort of superimposed on top. Beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. And that's just one piece of fabric out of the whole kit. Lovely. To fold these nicely now. Okay, good. I'll pass that down. Thank you. Cottage core. Ah, this is really pretty. Now this is shabby chic style. It's a big quilt, really very pretty. I love the combinations of those fresh apple greens, and then you've got raspberry, you've got soft pinks, some grey in there as well, like a grey gingham, and a grey background polka dot with like little rosebuds on it. It's a real kind of lovely, imagine a bedroom that's got like white enamel bedstead, you know, and lots of like white linen and a bit of lace trim around the pillowcases, and then this gorgeous floral shabby chic quilt kind of folded over the edge of the bed. Beautiful. Now it's a big quilt. It is 217 centimetres square, which is over 80 inches square, isn't it? So you've got a huge amount of fabric, 13 different fabrics in there, and in total more than 11 metres of fabric for $151.99. Do you want to have a little look at the fabrics? Yeah, let's have a little dig in. Oh. Great pattern as well, 9 big blocks and made up of nice easy units, flying geese, squares, strips, so nothing hard, nice straightforward quilt to make, but a big quilt. And just look at all these beautiful fabrics. You've got these amazing, look at that lovely floral, I just love that. Polka dot with little ditzy floral on top. The gingham style, printed gingham, a little mini floral. All of these things kind of encompass sort of cottage style and sort of what we call shabby chic style as well, isn't it really? It's the pinks, the greys, the soft creamy whites, that apple green as well, just adds a lovely freshness to it. Look at that for a lovely piece of fabric. Just think that is beautiful. So romantic. I think that's the embodiment of the look, isn't it? It's about romance, softness, gentleness. So it would make a really pretty, feminine looking quilt. Really nice to freshen up a spare bedroom. If you've got, you know, often the spare bedroom is just kind of painted white and it's just kept there for when people are visiting. And there's nothing too much in there that sort of features. A quilt like that on the bed will just bring the whole thing to life. Yeah, Christmas is coming, visitors are staying. This is always the time I start thinking about, gosh, I really do need to tidy up in that room. Lots of things go under a big quilt as well, so if you want to sort of throw it over the bed and, you know, perhaps if there isn't such a pretty duvet cover or pillowcases underneath, a large quilt can really cover that over and just bring the whole room together. Now, Moda Outdoorsy. Now, we said earlier on we had the Tula quilt, which was a Bethlehem Star or Lone Star. This is a variation. This is lovely. I think it's really kind of woodsy looking. It's got that kind of cozy cabin feel. What in America they call Northwoods style. Just lovely. And we don't do any of these fabrics by the ½ metre, so the only way you can get these is through the kit. And we often get requests for fabrics that are perhaps a touch more masculine. Now you get included with this the pattern for the Big Sky Star, which that is spectacular. You also get a ruler included, which again, you're not cutting diamonds, you're going to strip piece, long strips together and then cross cut. And then I'll have to open the pack if you want me to. Yeah, let's do that. So you've got these wonderful plaids in different colours. I love that mustard, but look at that aqua plaid. You've got kind of fishing tackle printed. I like that. That's cool, really nice. Kind of like a basket weave. Speckles, a grass print, and then these kind of wood grain. That's gorgeous. Beautiful dark wood. And lots of background fabric too. It's a really, really comprehensive kit. You get a lot of fabric in there, and it's really, really lovely to get something which is that kind of more masculine look, striking. I mean, it's still colourful, but it's not sort of out there. It's the colours are quite subtle. Okay, lovely. Well, there are lots of other kits if you want to have a look on the website. All of them are going to be reduced, so have a look on the website and see if there's something that appeals to you. Oh, one last one quickly before we wrap up. Yep, is the little raccoon quilt. Love this design. It's really gorgeous. The raccoon's face is pieced. Easy. Stitch and flip units, squares, triangles, nothing hard, and then I just love that pieced background as well. It's really smart, isn't it? You get all the fabrics in there to create the 38 by 44. But if you wanted to enlarge it, there are actually patterns for a bigger and a really big wall hanging included, so you just need to get some extra fabric and you could adapt it a little bit. Be a lovely wall hanging in a bedroom, wouldn't it? Really nice, yeah. Bit modern, bit fresh, love that. Gorgeous. So that's the little raccoon quilt. It's from Moda. I'll just show you on the back as well. Most adorable. Actually, I'll turn it around that way because you can just see then. Just think that's lovely, isn't it? Gorgeous. This is the one right here, the raccoon. Love that sort of deep blue. Okay, well, listen, that's all of the kits that I'm going to go through. Let's have a little look at the menu for tomorrow. Now, it's me tomorrow, and at 8 AM we're going to start with William Morris fabrics, a real favourite of mine, and I know a lot of you love William Morris fabrics. So we'll have those available by the ½ metre. Now at 9 o'clock, Fiona Hesford from So Girl is here with the Whitstable weekend bag. Now that sounds like my cup of tea. Love a weekend bag, love So Girl patterns, and Fiona always puts fabrics together in such a stylish way. Just gorgeous. That's at 9. Now at 10 o'clock, I'm joined by Amanda Little, who is bringing a pattern for coat hanger covers. Really fun project, great to do for gifting as well, and also make and sell. Now at 11 o'clock, Fiona's back with the So Girl fabric hanging pots and a plique drawstring bag. That sounds like a fun hour too. Lots of great skills to learn. And then at 12 o'clock, we've got a jewellery pouch with Amanda Little. So lots of lovely demos, lots of lovely chat with our guests as well. Now, normally at this point, I'd show you the Hobby Maker menu as well, but this afternoon, Hobby Maker is running between 1 and 6, but it's actually repeat of yesterday's shows. So obviously, when the shows were recorded yesterday, nobody was aware of the events that were unfolding with the death of Her Majesty the Queen. So obviously it's from yesterday, so the tone of the shows won't necessarily reflect what's happened, but we will be showing repeats on Hobby Maker. So that's over on Hobby Maker, and that's running between 1 and 6. We're back here tomorrow on Sewing Street from 8 a.m, and I hope that you'll join us tomorrow morning as well. Now, before I leave you, I just want to explain that there's going to be a national silence to think about, 2 minutes in fact, 2 minute silence to think about Her Majesty the Queen and her passing yesterday. So we're going to acknowledge that and also join in with that here on Sewing Street. So when I leave you, in the studio, in the offices, right here, we'll be observing that 2 minute silence, and I hope that you will join me as well. We will have a screen showing the flag flown at half-mast, which I think reflects how we're all feeling as well. So I hope you'll join with me now as we start a 2 minute silence right across the country, all joining together and thinking about Her Majesty the Queen.